At the beginning of the drama, we are shown a scene inside a home shopping studio. Everyone is running around in panic because the live broadcast is about to start. The staff is stressed, and we can feel that something is already going wrong. Then the team talks about a famous host named Yi Jin. They all say that she is a very good seller and that customers really trust her. Then the product for today is cleaning gloves, and the team has prepared everything. The samples are ready, the cameras are set, and the next show is about to go live. But Yi Jin is missing. The staff tries calling her, but she is not picking up the phone. Everyone starts to panic. One staff member says that they may have to go live without her. But this makes things worse because she is the main host, and the whole show depends on her. Then the director says they cannot go live without the main host. Everyone looks confused and scared because they don't know what to do. Then another host tries to handle the show alone. He introduces the cleaning gloves in an awkward and funny way. He even tries to act cute, barking like a dog and saying the gloves are adorable. But things don't go well. Then he tries to demonstrate the product. First, he tries to clean dust, and he overreacts loudly. Then he tries to remove grease, but it doesn't work properly. He struggles and doesn't know what to do. Because of that, the viewers are not interested. The number of calls is dropping fast. The sales are going down, and the staff becomes even more worried. Then we see that the director says they worked for 1 whole month to prepare for this show. He even threatens to file a lawsuit if today's show fails. The pressure becomes very high. Then the team tries to fix the situation. They suggest showing a recorded video instead. Someone else says they should just keep talking and avoid more demonstrations. Everyone is trying different ideas, but nothing is working. Then suddenly, a phone rings during the live broadcast. Then the screen changes, and finally, Yi Jin appears. She is not in the studio. Instead, she is standing at a very tall building called Lux Tower. She greets the audience confidently as if nothing went wrong. Everyone in the studio feels relieved to see her. Then she starts showing a dirty glass window. She explains that the dirt has been building up for a long time and that normal cleaning products cannot remove it. Then first, she sprays cleaner and wipes it, but the dirt doesn't come off. This builds suspense and makes viewers curious. Then she introduces the gloves again. She explains that she only used water on them, nothing else. Slowly, she starts wiping the glass again. The dirt starts disappearing completely. The glass becomes clean and shiny. Then she uses lipstick on the glass and says that if she cannot remove it, she will be in trouble. Then we see her wiping it again with the gloves, and once again, it becomes completely clean. Now the audience is fully convinced. Then the studio staff are amazed and relieved. The sales numbers start going up quickly. The product begins to sell out. The director, who was angry before, now feels proud. He says he trusted Yi Jin and she proved him right. The product is almost sold out. At the end, Yi Jin tells the viewers to hurry and place their orders because the product will be sold out very soon. She smoothly hands the broadcast back to the studio. On the other side, we are shown a rural village called Deokpung Village. In this village, we meet a man named Lee Seok. Then he is walking through the village while the locals' ladies greet him casually. One lady thanks him for helping take care of a dog named Chung Sik. But Lee Seok explains that the dog just followed him on its own. The ladies say the dog only likes him and keeps following him again and again. Then the villagers casually give him food. They tell him to steam some food and share it. He refuses at first, saying he already has food at home, but they keep insisting. In the end, he reluctantly accepts, showing how familiar he is with village life. Then we see Lee Seok at someone's house helping in fixing his TV. A message appears saying, "No data available," and "No input signal." The villagers panic and say the Wi-Fi is gone. Then some more villagers gather comes there, calling out excitedly about someone named Song Gain, a popular trot singer. They are trying to fix the internet so they can watch something together. Then Lee Seok goes upstairs, moves things around, adjusts cables, and tries to restore the signal. After some effort, the connection finally comes back. They celebrate the successful fix and thank Lee Seok for helping. After that, we see Lee Seok helping villagers by giving them lift on his tractor. Then there are different moments in the village where Lee Seok has helped many times before. First, he was working at a cow shed, helping with difficult farm work like pulling calves. The villagers joke that he is better than others at handling farm tasks now. Even though they tease him, it is clear he is very helpful. Then another day, he helps chop firewood at someone's house. He works quietly while the villagers talk around him, showing how often he supports them without asking for anything in return. Then another moment at the village hall where bees have to be removed. Lee Seok again steps in to help, carefully handling the situation while others are scared. He keeps proving that he is reliable. Then, on a big day when the villagers are making kimchi together, even in the busy and messy preparation, Lee Seok is there helping again. Then a flashback of natural disasters hitting the village, like strong typhoons. During these dangerous moments, Lee Seok helps protect the village. The villagers slowly start realizing how important he is. Then the villagers admit that at first, they thought he was rude and strict. But now they understand that he has actually been helping them all along. They make a comparison. One lady says Lee Seok is like streusel bread, hard and rough on the outside, but soft and kind on the inside. Everyone agrees with this idea and laughs. Finally, Lee Seok is at the village bus stop, getting ready to leave. The villagers thank him again for everything he has done. The villagers is about to leave, but then asks Lee Seok when he will come back. Lee Seok replies that he is not the village bus driver, but he will return around 5 p.m. He casually tells them they can wait for him if they want. The villagers agree, and they say goodbye. Next, we are shown the scene of the city where we hear people talking about Yi Jin. They say she is someone who never stops once she decides something. She always pushes until everything is done perfectly. Then they start talking about Yi Jin's popularity. She is not just a home shopping host anymore. She is now a brand ambassador, doing commercials, and even appearing on big shows like Running Man. Everyone is surprised at how big she has become. Then we see Ye Jin in her busy daily life. Even though she is extremely successful, she still has to rush between work schedules. Then she goes to a restaurant to meet someone important. People around her recognize her immediately and start asking for autographs and photos. She politely smiles and takes pictures with her fans, showing her superstar status. Her boyfriend is waiting for her, but she keeps getting stopped by fans, causing delays. Then her boyfriend gets frustrated. He says he came all the way just to see her, but she is always busy and distracted. He asks her to spend time with him and even suggests watching a movie together later. But then Ye Jin gets pulled into work again. While talking, she suddenly notices the cutlery on the table. She becomes curious and starts analyzing it like a professional product seller. Then she completely switches focus. Instead of the conversation, she starts talking about the knife, its design, material, and quality. She says it looks perfect for selling as a product. She even gets excited and says they should test it and turn it into a new home shopping item. This completely frustrates her boyfriend, and he suddenly says, "Let's break up." Then he explains his feelings. He says he is tired of always being second to her work. He feels like she can't separate her job as a home shopping host from her personal life. He tells her that he also has a busy job as a doctor, doing many surgeries and seeing many patients every day. But still, he makes time for relationships because he wants a personal life too. He wants to laugh, enjoy time, and live like a normal human being. Then Yujin tries to respond, but she cannot fully separate herself from work. Even in emotional moments, her mind keeps thinking like a seller, like a professional. Then she is back to work again, where she suddenly talks to her coworker, who is also her friend Hong, about turning the cutlery into a new product. Then while leaving, she sees news about rankings. One rival host named Yoon Ji is shown as a top seller, while Yi Jin is ranked just below her. Then the same rival host Yoon Ji comes there and criticizes the industry, saying sales numbers are everything and the business is very cruel. She say even small differences are shown clearly and competitively. She insults Yi Jin, saying she sells differently and comparing their success in a harsh way. But Yi Jin calmly responds to it, not getting emotional. But inside, the pressure is clearly building. She is constantly judged by numbers, rankings, and performance. After that, she starts realizing what her boyfriend had said. She says people need a personal life to feel human. They need laughter, rest, and simple happiness outside of work. And in the end, she slowly understands the truth that even though she is successful, she has forgotten how to simply live as a normal person and enjoy life beyond being Ye Jin, the seller. Then we see her at her house where she is thinking about personal life and emotions. Different product ideas and advertisements keep appearing in the background. It shows how her life is always mixed with work, no matter where she is. Then she sees her mother's note on the fridge, telling her to take care of her health and eat well. Then she quickly shifts back into work mode again. She is trying to organize her schedule, but everything feels tight and complicated. The next morning, when she enters an office space, something feels off. The schedule has been changed without her knowledge. The prime time slot that originally belonged to Yi Jin has now been changed to Yoon Ji's show. Her staff panics. Hong realized the schedule has been updated, but Yi Jin was not informed. The studio is still not fully prepared, and confusion spreads everywhere. Ye Jin is standing there calmly, but it's obvious she's upset inside. She realizes that her show has been replaced. The show's host, Miss Song, also arrives and tells Yejin, "This is my show's time slot. What are you doing here?" Yejin replies that she didn't know, but the host leans in and whispers in her ear, "How long are you going to keep using the same excuse? That you didn't know? Don't you ever get tired of it?" Hearing this, Yejin is reminded of a past incident, one where the products she had promoted caused harmful side effects, and she had no idea at the time that they were dangerous. Filled with anger, Yejin heads straight to the executive's office. She asks why the schedule was changed without informing her. She warns that if this continues, their company could lose its position to competitors. Then the executives start explaining the situation. She says the brand Beauty Song is performing very well and that they need stronger products for prime time. Then Yejin says she does not sell cosmetics and reminds them that this condition has always been part of her contract. Then the executive tells her that unless she brings a powerful brand like L'Etoile, she will lose her primetime slot completely. Then Yejin leaves the office, and her team outside asks what happened. She explains that if she wants to get her primetime slot back, she must bring in L'Etoile, a luxury French brand. In the next scene, Yejin is facing a very serious problem at work. Yejin is trying to process everything. She realizes that if she wants to save her primetime show, she must somehow bring L'Etoile into the company. On the other side, we are shown that the CEO of a raw material company calls Lee Seok to ask about a contract. Lee Seok appears to be a prominent figure in the company, whose approval is essential for any deal to move forward. However, he clearly refuses. After that, we see another main character. The CEO of L'Etoile, named Eric, travels from France to South Korea so he can arrange a direct meeting. After that, Eric meets with the CEO of a raw material company called Kdrama. They are discussing a contract for supplying raw materials for their products. Then, Eric politely offers a new contract with better conditions and even higher order volume. He explains that they have increased the demand 5 times and improved the terms to help both sides. But then the CEO of Kdrama refuses. He clearly says that he will not renew the contract with L'Etoile. Eric tries to understand the reason, but the CEO does not give a clear explanation. Then Eric insists that they will find a solution, but the CEO remains firm. The contract is officially rejected. Then, after leaving the meeting, Eric feels something strange about the situation. He senses that the CEO is not acting freely, as if someone else might be influencing him. Then he decides to investigate the company further. Meanwhile, the Miss Song's shopping broadcast suddenly sells out products at an unbelievable speed. Within just a short time, everything is already gone. The staff is shocked because the products are selling out in minutes. Because the rival host, Yoonji, is now involved in the situation, there is clear tension between Yejin and her team. There are complaints and arguments about competition, rankings, and pressure in the home shopping industry. Then we are shown Yejin continues her broadcast work, even while dealing with emotional and physical exhaustion. She is not feeling well, so reaches her doctor. The doctor warns her about overusing sleeping pills. They explain that if she continues like this, she could suffer serious side effects like memory loss, sleepwalking, and even dangerous health issues. The doctor tells her she must only take 1 pill per day and stop ignoring her health. Then her friend confronts her directly, telling her to stop running away from reality and stop pretending she didn't know about the problem. Then Yejin quietly gets ready again, even though she is clearly exhausted. She still performs her job. She greets the audience, thanks them for their support, and completes the broadcast like a true professional. The broadcast ends successfully. At the end of the broadcast, the studio slowly calms down after all the chaos. After that, Yejin's friend brings her a drink because she knows she's not in good condition. She even sees her vomiting. At that moment, Yejin tells her that she has made up her mind. She's going to collaborate with L'Etoile, and she's already preparing for it. But her friend says she doesn't have to take on the L'Etoile project if she doesn't want to. She reminds her that even if things go wrong, her team can survive. Next, we see that Eric's assistant informs him that HIT, the biggest home shopping company in Korea, has been trying to contact L'Etoile. They have been sending offers for a long time, and now Eric is finally ready to meet. Then Yejin steps into a business meeting with L'Etoile representatives. She introduces herself professionally, and the meeting begins. At first, everything goes smoothly. Eric says they like the proposal. Yejin carefully asks them to review everything again, making sure nothing is missed. Then the condition is revealed. Eric says they will only move forward if Yejin helps them resolve a raw material contract issue with another company. Then we see both sides agreeing to work together. Yejin decides to handle the situation, while L'Etoile agrees to prioritize HIT's offer. Then we see a strategic plan forming. Yejin and the L'Etoile team decide to split tasks. One side will deal with the CEO of Gojinok, and the other will directly approach the farm owner who supplies the raw materials. They realize the farm owner might hold the key to solving everything. Then they officially exchange contact information, marking the start of a new partnership mission. After that, Yijin arrives in a rural area near Dokpung village. She tries to move forward but suddenly runs into a strange situation involving vehicles and road confusion. A tractor blocks the way and it belongs to none other than Lee Seok. An argument happens between Lee Seok and Yijin about who has the right of way. One says it's a one-way street. Another says tractors can't reverse. Then Yijin says that if the tractor won't reverse, her car also can't reverse. Now eventually she gets annoyed and says she will just follow their stupid rules and reverse her car. While she is trying to move, Lee Seok keeps pressing horn, and both of them start arguing again. Yejin gets frustrated and tells him to stop, but Lee Seok doesn't listen. He calmly tells her she can just squeeze through as if nothing is wrong. Then Yejin comes and warns him that her car is expensive and tells him to be careful. But Lee Seok doesn't care much. Then Yejin decides to leave her car and continue on foot because she is in a hurry. Now she is walking through the village, asking people where the mushroom farm is. She looks tired and annoyed, complaining about why she even has to sell this kind of product. Then she notices that the Lee Seok's tractor is following her. At first, she is confused. Then she starts thinking that Lee Seok is actually following her on purpose. She stops him and even jokes that men have followed her in luxury cars before, but this is her first time being followed by a tractor. Then she politely asks him to stop bothering her because she has an important meeting. But Lee Seok says he is just going his own way. She quickly asks if he knows where the mushroom farm is. He points ahead and tells her the direction. Then Yijin rushes forward happily, thinking she finally found the place. But the tractor suddenly moves forward. Yijin shouts at him, asking what he is doing. Then she starts confronting him from behind, asking what he wants. After that, finally, she reaches the mushroom farm and asks Lee Seok if the owner is inside. He says no. Then she asks when the owner will come, and he tells her it will take some time. Yijin then asks him to contact the owner for her. But instead of helping nicely, he sarcastically says he will tell the owner that a very rude woman came here. Yijin tries to fix the situation. She introduces herself properly, saying she is a home shopping host from HIT Home Shopping, and her name is Yejin. But before she can continue, he just walks away, locking the door. Then, inside the farm, Lee Seok is working seriously with other villagers. He is supervising workers and teaching them how to properly handle the mushrooms. He warns them that even missing one or two can ruin everything, showing how strict and professional he is. Yejin is still outside, struggling badly. Her feet are hurting because of her high heels. She cannot walk properly anymore. She comes back and desperately asks for slippers. At first, Lee Seok refuses, but she keeps begging, saying she cannot take another step in those heels. Then he tells her to follow him and gives her a pair of simple rubber slippers. He doesn't even take money and just tells her to take them and leaves. Yejin looks at the slippers and feels embarrassed because they are very simple and dirty, but she has no choice. Meanwhile, Lee Seok continues his work strictly, correcting workers and making sure everything is done properly. Then, Yijin remembers her car. She runs back and finds that her car has been hit by the tractor. She is shocked and angry again, calling Lee Seok crazy. She says she didn't even get to meet the owner and only met a crazy man. She feels like everything is going wrong. Finally, we see Yijin calling someone for help and explains that her car is stuck, her side mirror is broken, and she cannot move. She also says she has a live show later that evening, which increases the urgency. Then she tells herself that she has 4 hours to reach Seoul. Suddenly, she gets an idea. The bus. Then she is checking the bus schedule. There is a bus going to Seoul, but it is leaving very soon. She realizes there are only a few minutes left. Just then, some villagers are just passing around with Lee Seok, enjoying the weather and looking at the clouds, completely relaxed. Yijin shouts at him to stop and give her a ride. She keeps calling out loudly, trying to get his attention. Then she is finally getting close, but she ends up getting hurt slightly in the process. The villager lady sees her and asks Lee Seok to check on her. Then he comes and asks if she is okay. Then she also gets on the tractor and asks about the bus terminal. The ladies tell her it is not far and we can reach it easily. They treat her like a special guest from Seoul. Yijin finds a broken piece of her car's window from Lee Seok's tractor. This makes her angry and she becomes convinced that he was the one who broke her car's mirror. Then finally they reaches the bus terminal. Yijin quickly gets on, thinking she made it just in time. Just then, the bus driver starts driving in a hurry, even though not all passengers have boarded yet. Lee Seok drives his tractor in front of the bus and stops it. Then he comes and tells the driver that the bus is scheduled to leave at exactly 2:10, and there are still 3 minutes left. He then helps an elderly woman who had fallen because of the sudden movement of the bus. He tells the driver that the bus only comes twice a day, so it should depart on time. The driver begins to argue, saying the schedule is flexible and Lee Seok shouldn't interfere. But Lee Seok reminds him that the farmers here also pay taxes and work without any flexibility to produce the food people eat in the cities, so it's their right to have proper service. The bus driver apologizes and Lee Seok steps off the bus. The bus starts moving and Yijin finally relaxes a little. In the next scene, Eric and his assistant are discussing Yijin from a business perspective. They are reviewing her performance reports and analyzing her history. They notice that except for her very first broadcast, she has never sold cosmetics. Then they question why she suddenly wants to work with L'Etoile. After that, we are shown a past incident called the Good Morning Cream Incident. The hosts are Miss Song and Yi Jin. A product called Good Morning Cream was sold as safe for everyone, even children. But later, it was revealed to contain harmful substances. Many users suffered serious skin problems. Then even Miss Song promoted it, were publicly apologizing and even retiring because of the scandal. Next, we see Ye Jin's team, where Hong share information about L'Etoile. It is a luxury beauty brand from France that became very famous after one of its products went viral. Now it is one of the top brands in the market. Then we are shown Yoon Ji, who has come to select the products, but Ye Jin has already selected many products and she gets frustrated. Yoon Ji complains that everything good has already been taken by Ye Jin and asks if she is supposed to sell only the leftover items. Then a promotional banner appears saying that a cosmetic product will be launched soon in Korea, only at HIT. This creates shock because Ye Jin clearly said before that she doesn't do cosmetics. Just then, Yoonji comes forward and questions Ye Jin directly. She asks if this is about losing her primetime slot, but Ye Jin says she didn't agree to this, and Yoonji doesn't believe her. She accuses Ye Jin of trying to take revenge. In the next scene, Eric is casually interacting and asking his assistant to pick a music album for him. Then he remembers an umbrella. In the past, when Eric was passing with an umbrella, Ye Jin had asked where it was bought, and then she suddenly remembers a place she visited before. She becomes excited, saying that the croissants there are the best he has ever had. Then Eric asks to meet again the next day at that same place, almost like he believes in fate. But the next day, Ye Jin doesn't show up, and he keeps waiting for her. Now, in the present, he says this time he will make things happen. Then back to the village, Lee Seok is again living his simple life. A villager woman named Miss Yang brings him potatoes and insists he take them. At first he refuses, but eventually accepts a few. Miss Yang is watching Yi Jin's show. She gets so excited that she immediately wants to buy the product before it sells out. Lee Seok tells her not to fall for exaggerated advertising and says it's better to just go to a sauna instead of buying such products. But she doesn't listen. They rush to place an order, afraid that the product will sell out quickly. Then Lee Seok asks Miss Yang for her ID card details to place the order, but she cannot remember her ID number. They keep guessing and getting it wrong. In the end, Lee Seok steps in and uses his own information to help her complete the order. The order is successful, and later a prize draw happens. Yi Jin announces that someone from Deokpung village wins a prize. As soon as she hears the village name, she is shocked. Then Ye Jin herself arrives in the village to deliver the prize personally. She meets Miss Yang, who recognizes her from TV. She becomes very excited and even offers her food, showing admiration for her. Ye Jin tries to find the prize winner, but the name and address are unclear. Miss Yang helps her and guides her to the address. Then she tries to locate the person. She reaches outside the house and calls out, but instead, Lee Seok appears. Ye Jin realizes that his name is Lee Seok. The prize winner's name matches his father. She starts connecting the dots and realizes that Lee Seok's father might actually be the owner she has been searching for, the mushroom farm owner connected to her business deal. She asks, "Is your father the farm owner?" But Lee Seok immediately shuts her down. He tells her to leave and refuses to give any information. Yi Jin still asks for the owner's phone number, but he coldly questions her. Why did she even come here? She says she came for one reason only: to meet the farm owner. He tells her that if she's serious, she should make a proper appointment instead of barging in like this. Instead of backing down, she says she'll do things her own way, but Lee Seok makes her leave. After that, Yi Jin returns to Miss Yang's house, and she warmly welcomes her. She asks about the mushroom farm again, and Miss Yang says she actually works there. Yi Jin asks if she can stay overnight, and Miss Yang says yes. After some time, the chickens start running everywhere. Miss Yang calls Yi Jin for help, and Yi Jin ends up chasing them too. She struggles a lot, running around awkwardly trying to catch them. While catching a chicken, she ends up in Lee Seok's house. Lee Seok spots her and gets scared. He comes and asks what she is doing at his wall. She tries to explain, but the issue turns into a complaint. Lee Seok immediately calls the police, and the investigation starts. Yi-jin gets worried because of her public image. She tries to calm things down and suggests they both share the blame, but Lee Seok refuses. Then Yi-jin mentions his hit-and-run situation with his tractor and shows him the dashcam footage. Seeing this, he agrees to talk. Then he asks how much the damage costs. She says it's very expensive, but then he gives her an option. If he gives up the farm owner's number, they can settle things easily. However, he agrees to pay instead, choosing money over backing down. But Lee Seok doesn't stop there. He makes her sign a written agreement. Yi-jin is forced to write that she will never visit Lee Seok's house again. That night, Yi-jin starts thinking deeply. She wonders who Lee Seok really is. She tries to guess, maybe a former celebrity, maybe a rich heir, but none of it fits. His behavior confuses her. She reminds herself that she didn't come all this way for nothing, and decides she won't leave empty-handed this time. She reaches the farm and starts examining the white flower nuri mushrooms closely. She is impressed by their quality, and even recalls the benefits she studied before. Then Lee Seok tells her this is not her farm, and she has no right to be there. But Yi-jin says this place is not his house, so he cannot control her here. She challenges him to call the farm owner if he really wants to stop her. She starts talking about the mushrooms in detail. Lee Seok notices a chicken feather, then gets angry and tells her to leave immediately. He points out that she entered the farm carrying outside contamination, which is dangerous. Yi-jin tries to defend herself again. She even points out bugs and questions the hygiene of the farm, but Lee Seok replies that it's proof the farm is organic. Yi-jin notices he is working alone late at night. She asks if the villagers make him do everything because he is the youngest, but he ignores her question and continues his work seriously. At the same time, he warns her not to touch the mushrooms, because even small mistakes can lower their value. Yi-jin asks him when he finishes work. His answer is simple. He finishes when he feels he has done enough. After seeing everything, Yi-jin finally makes a decision. She calls someone and clearly says that she will take on the launch for L'Etoile. In the next scene, Lee Seok gets a call from the same CEO of a raw material company, who again requests Lee Seok to agree to the contract with L'Etoile, but he refuses. Annoyed by the repeated calls, Lee Seok says he's going to change his number, and then he does. On the other side, Yi-jin tries to rest, but she cannot sleep. The quiet village, the sounds of insects, and the unfamiliar environment make her uncomfortable. She checks her phone and keeps dealing with things instead of resting. Eventually, she takes sleeping pills. In the middle of the night, Lee Seok suddenly gets a call from a new number. It's Ye-jin. Half asleep and crying, she calls him and says, "Mom, why did you leave me?" The story then shifts to Yi-jin's past, where she is seen watching a lady's advertisement. That lady is none other than Miss Song, and Yi-jin is trying to imitate her. Suddenly, a photo frame breaks. It is a picture of Yi-jin and her father. Yi-jin becomes emotional and starts crying. Her father comes to her, and surprisingly, Miss Song is also with him. Yi-jin asks if that woman is really her mother, and her father confirms it. In the next scene, Miss Song comes to meet Yi-jin and finally admits that she is her mother. Yi-jin immediately hugs her, and Miss Song also becomes emotional. Later, Yi-jin spends time with her mother and asks if they can go out to play in the playground, but Miss Song refuses, saying she is very busy with work. However, she gives Yi-jin her number and promises to talk to her every Sunday. After that, we see Yi-jin growing up. She continues calling her mother every Sunday, but sometimes Miss Song is busy and ends the calls quickly. One day, Yi-jin calls again, but her mother doesn't answer. Soon, she learns that her mother has met with an accident. Since Miss Song is a famous personality, the news spreads quickly. Yi-jin rushes to the hospital, where many media reporters are present. She screams, calling for her mother, and everyone turns to look at her. Miss Song also sees Yi-jin and orders her guards to clear the crowd. Later, Yi-jin is shown at home, crying and apologizing to her mother, asking her to just pick up her call once. In the present time, Yi-jin is again trying to call Lee Seok. Lee Seok tells her that she has dialed the wrong number and cuts the call. But Yi-jin keeps calling again and again until morning, unable to sleep properly. Meanwhile, we are introduced to a kind-hearted shop owner named Na-jin. She lives with her younger sister Somi. Somi has scars on her face, so she wears a soft mask that her sister gives her. Somi also gives her headphones as a gift. Then Na-jin gets ready and leaves to buy some things. On the other side, we see Lee Seok and Miss Yang, who also get ready and leave. Before leaving, Lee Seok arrives with a chicken, and he tells Yi-jin that it has entered his house. He also pays her money for the car damage, but Yi-jin says she didn't want money, she just wanted an apology. However, Lee Seok insists and gives her the compensation. Later, the elderly lady makes Yi-jin sit beside Lee Seok in the vehicle, saying they look good together. She even asks if Yi-jin has a boyfriend, which makes both of them uncomfortable. During the ride, Yi-jin gets scared of a bee and suddenly clings to Lee Seok, creating an awkward moment. Miss Yang watches them happily, teasing that they suit each other. Meanwhile, Na-jin sees Yi-jin with Lee Seok and immediately feels upset, wondering why she is there. After dropping them at the bus stop, Lee Seok leaves. Here, Miss Yang also boards the bus and kindly offers food to the driver. In the next scene, we see Lee Seok's worker named Park, who is sitting in a cafe when a girl named Moon arrives. Park starts flirting with her, saying that they met when they were 8 years old and now they are 40. He expresses his longtime feelings for her and says he wants to make a YouTube video with her. Moon asks about his subscribers. He says he only has 7 subscribers. She smiles and replies that once he reaches 20 subscribers, she will join him for a video. We then see him filming videos on the road. During this, Lee Seok appears in front of him while driving a tractor. The sudden appearance almost causes an accident, but Lee Seok quickly notices and stops, and the situation is avoided. Lee Seok was actually sleepy at that time and could have crashed. In the next scene, Park is driving while Lee Seok sits in the back. He says he didn't sleep properly last night, but Park tells him to rest while he handles the work today. Later, Lee Seok reaches his house where construction is going on because the place is being renovated by Mr. Moo, the CEO of Kdrama Company. Inside the house, Lee Seok questions him, asking why he is doing all this and whether he plans to live there forever. Mr. Moo replies that it is not like that. He says Lee Seok always seemed happy in the lab, and that is why he is rebuilding it. He then mentions an old friend who is now in Bangkok and running a successful business. From their conversation, we come to know that Lee Seok and Mr. Gu are both CEOs of Kdrama Company and are friends. Mr. Gu indirectly questions Lee Seok about his own future, asking if he really plans to spend his entire life here. He also mentions that many companies, including L'Etoile Company, have been calling him. At that moment, Mr. Moo receives a call. Lee Seok suggests rejecting it, but then he himself answers the phone. After the call, Lee Seok decides to meet them. Meanwhile, Mr. Gu tries to stop him, suggesting he shouldn't go casually. He even arranges a proper suit for him. Lee Seok tries on multiple suits, and surprisingly, all of them look good on him. Moo then gives him a car, saying he should go properly instead of taking a taxi. Lee Seok then goes to meet Eric. Eric introduces himself as the CEO of L'Etoile, and Lee Seok also introduces himself as Lee Seok. They begin discussing business matters. Eric tries his best to convince Lee Seok, but Lee Seok refuses the offer because his trust in them is already broken due to past mistakes. He leaves, warning them indirectly that they are making a big mistake. After Lee Seok leaves, Eric questions himself, wondering if he really needed to say all that. Later, Eric meets Yi-jin and informs her that the company actually has 2 CEOs, Mr. Moo and Lee Seok, and that most control is in Lee Seok's hands, even though Mr. Moo is also involved in farming-related work. Yi-jin asks where Lee Seok is because she has been searching for him for a long time but hasn't been able to meet him. She even met workers who described him as strict and difficult. She decides that she must convince Lee Seok first and then proceed with her plan. Eric laughs during the entire conversation, slightly amused by her determination. Elsewhere, Lee Seok is seen leaving rice outside a house. The house belongs to a poor bus driver's family. Then, the same bus driver arrives and notices a plastic bag that was supposed to contain food, but instead finds money inside with a note saying to take care of his child properly. This deeply moves him emotionally. The next day, the bus driver apologizes to the elderly ladies for a previous mistake and promises to drive carefully from now on without overspeeding. Lee Seok quietly observes this scene. The story then shifts to Yi-jin, whose company has now gained a large number of subscribers and is actively making videos. She goes to a service center for her channel-related work, but many people call in and speak rudely about her products. At the end, she receives a call from Lee Seok about a machine that is not working properly, where Yi-jin has already introduced herself earlier. Lee Seok sighs and says he is trying to make a chair out of the damaged machine, wondering what he should do with it. Meanwhile, Yi-jin notices the name Lee Seok on his file, and also checks his location. This triggers her memory of Eric mentioning the same name. She then recalls her earlier visit to Lee Seok's house, where she had met him before. Slowly, she realizes the truth, that CEO Lee Seok and Lee Seok are the same person. Yi-jin hesitates for a moment, unsure whether she will be able to convince him about the contract. After thinking it over, she decides to try and goes back to his house. When she arrives, she mentions that he had called her earlier about the machine. She begins inspecting it and explains that the machine is not actually faulty. She instructs him that a towel should be placed over it for about 20 minutes. To prove her point, she suggests using another machine as well. As they test both machines, they realize everything is working fine. During this, Lee Seok is sweating heavily due to the heat, and Yi-jin teases him playfully. She even tries to remove his t-shirt out of concern, which leads to a light, comedic moment between them. They end up holding each other's hands while laughing, but their sudden closeness causes the machine's temperature to rise unexpectedly. Later, they sit together, and Lee Seok prepares tea for her. Yi-jin calmly tells him that she now knows his real identity. She introduces herself properly, but in the next moment, Lee Seok asks her to leave his house. After being thrown out, Yi-jin goes to the old lady's place, where she is once again ignored by the dog. Then, Miss Yang advises her that whether it is a human or an animal, feeding them before asking for anything is important, and she insists on taking care of him first. Meanwhile, Lee Seok is seen looking at the contract file Yi-jin had given him. However, he throws it into the trash, showing his refusal to renew any deal. That night, Yi-jin takes sleeping pills and falls asleep, but later wakes up and tries calling Lee Seok again. Since he is in deep sleep, he does not answer. The next morning, Yi-jin wakes up, and Miss Yang informs her about going to the farm. Yi-jin joins the group and arrives at the farm. There, Lee Seok is seen handing gloves to everyone and notices her presence. He questions why she is there, but before anything can be resolved, Miss Yang calls her inside, and Yi-jin enters the farm. Inside, Mr. Park is seen motivating the workers. Lee Seok watches Yi-jin working from a distance. After a few hours, the work is completed, and Lee Seok finally acknowledges her effort, telling her she did a good job. As they leave together, Yi-jin asks for 5 minutes to talk, and once again brings up the contract renewal, asking him to reconsider. However, Lee Seok refuses again, stating that the company has already broken trust, and he will not renew anything. Later, Yi-jin arrives at his house while talking continuously, but Lee Seok warns her that if she steps inside, he will call the police. As he tries to close the gate, Yi-jin pushes from the other side, causing the gate to open suddenly. She loses balance and falls, injuring her hand. Lee Seok immediately takes her to the doctor. That night, at 11 p.m., Yi-jin performs her program, showcasing an exercise machine for the hands despite her injury. Lee Seok secretly watches her presentation and begins to notice her pain and dedication. Finally, Lee Seok retrieves the contract file from the trash, showing he is reconsidering his decision. He goes outside, opens the gate, and finds Na-jin standing there. Na-jin gives Yi-jin some money as rent and tells her it is charity, but Lee Seok immediately gets angry and refuses to accept it. He tells Na-jin that there is no need for charity and insists she should not interfere. Na-jin then comments on Yi-jin's presence, indirectly questioning why she come there. Meanwhile, Yi-jin is seen with Yoon-ji, who grabs her hand and warns her that Miss Song has been working on a product for years, and because of Yi-jin, it might fail. Yi-jin calmly replies that if the product is good, people will buy it, and she should focus on the product instead of her personally. Yoon-ji insults her and walks away. On the other side, Lee Seok contacts Mr. Moo and asks him to send the list of other clients. The scene shifts to Yi-jin's father, who is at her house preparing food and storing it in the fridge for her. When Yi-jin arrives, he tells her to eat, but she refuses and asks him to stop bringing food, saying it gets wasted. Her father gently explains that even if food sometimes goes to waste, she will always have something to eat whenever she is hungry. Yi-jin gets frustrated and scolds him for treating her like a child. A flashback shows Yi-jin in anger, saying she will tell everyone that Miss Song is her mother and that she abandoned her. Her father had stopped her in the past, explaining that he prevented Miss Song from contacting her because she was already emotionally hurt. He only wanted to protect her. In the present, he apologizes again, but Yi-jin walks away into her room. That night, Yi-jin wakes up again and calls Lee Seok. He answers, but before he can properly respond, she starts saying she misses her mother and even mentions her name while half asleep. Lee Seok checks the number, confused, and asks why she is calling him. Yi-jin, still sleepwalking, moves around her house and opens the door, acting disoriented. Suddenly, a noise is heard and the call disconnects. Lee Seok tries calling her back, but she does not answer. Although he continues his work, he becomes worried, sensing something is wrong. Meanwhile, Yi-jin, still in a sleepwalking state, leaves her house and walks toward a store area without realizing her surroundings. At that moment, a car speeds toward her, but Lee Seok suddenly arrives just in time and saves her from getting hit. However, Yejin is still unconscious and unaware of what is happening. Then we see Yejin acting strangely. She looks a bit unstable, almost like she didn't sleep properly. Lee Seok tries to calm her down. He asks what she is doing here at this hour, but she does not respond. Then he sees her feet, which have cuts, so he asks her to wait there and goes to buy slippers and medicine for her. Then he makes her wear them. After that, she again starts walking in her sleep, and Lee Seok just follows her to her house. Then, in the elevator, she suddenly leans in close to him, smelling him. She says his scent is like woody musk, and even suggests turning it into a product for customers, but Lee Seok is confused. He says he's not wearing any cologne at all, but Yejin doesn't believe him. She accuses him of keeping that scent just for himself. Then we see her mood shift quickly. She gets irritated, calls him a jerk, and storms off. Something clearly isn't right with her. Then she goes to her apartment but forgets to lock the door, so Lee Seok comes to check and sees that she has fallen asleep right in front of the door. The next morning, we see Yejin waking up. She sees her mobile, which has a low battery, so she goes to charge it. Then she feels pain in her feet and sees the cuts but doesn't know where they came from. On the other side, we see Lee Seok, who did not sleep well last night. Just then, the same girl, Somi, comes there and calls Lee Seok. She sounds casual at first, but then asks him for money. Lee Seok gets serious and asks why. She says she needs it for poka. At first, he misunderstands and thinks she means poker. He immediately refuses, saying gambling is dangerous and addictive. But then Somi gets annoyed and corrects him. She actually meant photo cards, not poker. Now Lee Seok looks embarrassed. Still, he hesitates, showing he's protective and worried about her choices. Then we return to Yejin. We see her doing a live broadcast by the river. She smiles brightly, acting completely normal in front of her fans. She talks about the weather, the sky, and how refreshing everything feels. Then we see her at a fitting session. Her clothes suddenly feel too tight. She gets irritated again, asking if the staff made a mistake, but they insist nothing changed. This makes her uncomfortable. It hints that something is happening to her body or her condition. Then she remembers that when she was at Miss Yang's home, Miss Yang prepared food for her, including dishes she likes. She also ate too much because it was very tasty. Remembering this, she feels bad. Just then, her coworkers and her friends Hong and Song arrive, and Song notices something strange. Her feet are injured, but she doesn't know how it happened. She says she might have scratched herself while sleeping, but they don't believe that explanation. However, Yejin says she is okay. After that, they give her big news. Yejin's product, L'Etoile's Essence, is doing extremely well. In fact, the company has cleared out an entire warehouse just for her product. Yejin is shocked, and they become excited. Sung talks about breaking records and selling everything. Yejin's energy suddenly spikes. Then we see her take control. She orders her team to gather as much stock as possible. She wants to sell everything. In the next scene, we see Yejin arriving at the village again. Somi immediately recognizes her. The home shopping host Yejin? She introduces herself to Somi and asks her where Lee Seok is. Somi asks, "Why do you want to know?" Yejin smiles and says she's going to meet him. Then Somi tells her that he's harvesting corn today. After that, Yejin goes to the cornfield with Miss Yang and Somi. Then we see her finally meet Lee Seok. He looks surprised. She quickly explains herself. "I'm not here to bother you. I came to help harvest corn." He is confused. Yejin doing farm work? It doesn't match her image at all, but she insists. She even says confidently, "I'm good with my hands." Lee Seok doesn't seem convinced. He says they already have enough people, but Yejin doesn't back down. She smiles and says, "You might like it when you see me working." Hearing this, he remembers the last night's scene and starts coughing. Lee Seok suddenly feels strange. She tells him to take care of his health, but he turns it back on her, saying, "You should take care of yourself." Saying this, he leaves, but Yejin is confused about why he said that. Then we see everyone heading to the cornfield, and finally, the harvest begins. The sun is strong, and the work is exhausting, and this is nothing like Yejin's usual life. Very quickly, she starts struggling. "I can't do this. I'm going to melt." She looks completely drained, but at the same time, she doesn't want to give up. Lee Seok is watching her as she keeps pushing herself. Then we see a break time. Everyone gathers to eat snacks together. Simple food, but full of warmth. Yejin looks at the food carefully. She hesitates and says she can't eat because she needs to lose weight. But the villagers don't accept that. They gently push her. "Just eat. It's fine. Delicious food doesn't count." Slowly, Yejin gives in. She takes a bite and then her eyes light up. "It's so good." Then we see Somi's elder sister, Na-jin, and Moon arriving. She brings iced coffee for everyone. People immediately praise her. One lady says, "She's the face of Dokpung. She supports everything here." Yejin watches this carefully. Then we see Somi proudly introduce Na-jin. "She's my sister. Isn't she pretty?" Everyone starts laughing. Meanwhile, Lee Suk is dealing with a man about business. This man is Miss Yang's son, and he runs a makgeolli factory. But the man is struggling. His business is failing. He asks Lee Suk for a lower price for corn, even half price, but Lee Suk refuses. He firmly says no. The man becomes desperate. He explains everything. His sales are dropping, his workers are leaving, and he is doing deliveries himself. Still, Lee Seok doesn't change his decision. He even says something shocking. They can terminate the deal and pay the penalty instead. The man is surprised. Then Lee Seok asks one final question. "Does your mother-in-law know your business is failing?" The man says no and begs Lee Seok to keep it a secret. Lee Seok agrees. Then Lee Seok returns and tells Miss Yang that her son-in-law has refused to buy the corn. He says he is developing a new product, so they will have to sell the corn somewhere else. Everyone is confused. The corn is very high quality, so why refuse it? Then we see a large amount of corn lying there and no one knows what to do with it. Then we see Lee Seok ending the work for the day. He thanks everyone for helping, but the situation is serious. Park says that if the corn is not picked within 2 days, it will lose its taste. Then we see Miss Yang deciding to pick all the corn before going home. Even though she is tired, she refuses to leave it. But Lee Seok tells her there is no place to store the corn anyway, and that it is better to keep it on the plants for now. Then we see him feeling helpless, as all this corn might go to waste. Then everyone starts leaving. But Yejin stops and says she wants to help find a solution. She tells him it's okay and that she will find another buyer. Then we see her refusing to leave. She says she also worked hard in the hot sun to pick the corn and cannot just walk away while everything goes to waste. She feels emotional because everyone worked so hard. Then suddenly she gets an idea. She says, "Let's sell them." Lee Seok is confused and asks how. Then she says something surprising. She suggests selling the corn through a live stream. He is shocked. Then she reveals that her nickname is Live Info Show. She hosts live streams where she shares useful information. Then she asks confidently if they doubt the quality of the corn, but Lee Seok explains that the corn has a very high sweetness level. It is as sweet as top quality apples. Because of this, the corn is more sensitive and easily affected by pests, but they used only natural fertilizer. Then we see her making a bold decision. As a top home shopping host in Korea, she decides to help them. She asks everyone to gather again. Then we see preparations starting quickly. Meanwhile, people begin setting things up in the field. A banner is placed that says fresh and super sweet corn is available for nationwide delivery. She is a confident and experienced home shopping host. Then we see her giving instructions to everyone, and everything is being prepared very quickly. Then we see the team getting ready for filming. Meanwhile, Lee finds a warehouse that can store up to 3,000 boxes. Hearing this, she confidently says she will sell all of them in just 10 minutes. Then we see the final preparations. The live stream page is refreshed, and everyone gets excited because everything is ready. At the same time, at the home shopping studio, Yoon-ji comes to the executive and starts talking about Yejin. They are surprised that she suddenly decided to do a live stream selling corn. She mentions that she is the face of their company, so her actions affect their image. But the boss says she is actually maintaining the company's image by selling high-quality products at a good price. Then we finally see the live stream begin. Yejin appears on camera with confidence. She greets the audience warmly. She explains that for a limited time, she will be selling super sweet corn from Dokpung village. Each box contains 10 ears of corn, and there is limited stock. She encourages viewers to place orders quickly. Then we see the camera showing the farm, where farmers are working hard harvesting the corn. She even interviews them briefly. Then we see close shots of the corn. Yejin explains how delicious it is. She explains that even if someone is not good at cooking, they don't need to worry, as the corn still tastes amazing even when eaten raw. She even offers a bite to the cameraman to prove how good it is. And then suddenly, something incredible happens. We see the screen showing that all the boxes are sold out. Everyone is shocked. The whole team celebrates with excitement. Then we see Yejin thanking the viewers. She says this was an unexpected live stream, but people still showed so much support. She ends the broadcast politely and promises to meet them again. Then we see the camera turning off. They cannot believe they sold everything. Everyone gathers together happily and takes a group selfie, but there is no time to relax. Then we see them getting back to work quickly, as they still need to harvest thousands of boxes of corn. Even though they are tired, everyone is motivated now. Then we see Yijin later and she suddenly collapses. People panic and rush to her. Then we see her opening her eyes in a hospital. She looks confused. Then we see her joking in a funny way. She wonders if she was carried like in a romantic movie scene. Meanwhile, Park is around her and is worried. He even thinks she is acting strangely, like she is not in her right mind. He panics and wonders if she might die. But then we see the truth. A doctor says it is just heat stroke. She collapsed because she worked too long under the hot sun. Later, we see Lee Seok talking to the doctor. The doctor says she is fine now and that there is no need to worry much about her. Then we see him talking to the same man and giving him extra payment, even though he was supposed to pay only half price for using the warehouse. The man refuses at first, saying it is too much, but Lee Seok explains that this will help reduce their worries. After that, we see Yijin at Lee Seok's house. Then we see Lee Seok with a contract. It is a sales commission agreement. He tells her not to feel bad about receiving the money. He explains it is just his way of saying thank you. Then we see Yijin preparing to leave, but suddenly she feels dizzy again. She struggles to stand and says she is not pretending. Her condition becomes serious again. She asks him to get salt and glucose tablets from her bag. Then we see him helping her quickly. She lies down, holding her head and feeling very weak. After taking the medicine, she slowly starts feeling better. He scolds her gently and tells her to stop overworking herself and take care of her health. She responds jokingly, saying his words are hurting her more. Then we see her asking to rest on his sofa because she cannot move. Then Lee Seok helps her, picks her up, and lays her on the sofa. After that, we see her calming down. Then the scene shifts, and we see Park going in his tractor. Just then, a car comes from the opposite side. It is none other than Yejin's friend Sung. The two drivers argue. Park says it is a one-way road, but Sung refuses to move and says she has the right of way. The situation becomes tense and awkward. Then we see Sung deciding to back up, but her car gets stuck. She struggles to move it. Then we see panic building. She realizes the other man is coming closer. She panics and says, "Wait, hold on, come on," but the car is not moving. Then Park slowly approaches, making the situation even more intense, but then he picks up the car and gets it onto the road. Then he calmly says that he will back up instead. Then we see him moving his tractor to make space. Sung is shocked, and she doesn't understand who this strange person is. On the other side, Yejin has rested and comes out of Lee Seok's house. She says, "I left a file for you. You should look at it." Then Sung comes to the gate to pick her up. Sung tries to talk to Lee Seok, but Yejin doesn't let her. Lee Seok goes inside the house where a note is attached to the file that says, "Who can seal that essence the best?" Then we see Yejin and Sung in the car. Sung is furious, saying, "That guy made you work all day, he's so useless." But Yejin says, "No, he's not like that, he's really nice." Then Sung drops her off at her house. We see Yejin, but she doesn't go into her building. She says, "Maybe I should get some coffee." In the next scene, we see Eric's assistant at the coffee shop. He spots Yejin there and goes to tell Eric. Eric says, "You can go home now, I have to go somewhere." He runs to Yejin and asks, "What are you doing here?" She says, "I came here for coffee and you should try it too." Then we see him go and sit at another table. He looks back at her, and as he scrolls through his phone for a while, she is gone. He comes outside and it starts to rain. Then we see an umbrella arrive. It is Yejin, and she says their share is equal. He smiles at her again, and they walk away together. Eric asks, "Won't you treat me to something to eat?" She asks what he wants to eat, and Eric mentions the name of a dish. We see Yejin telling him bluntly, "I don't go on dates with my coworkers. Whenever I do something like that, I lose both my job and my relationship." Hearing this, Eric feels bad, but then he says, "So let's focus on work, but after work, we should have a meal together." Then the scene shifts, and we see Lee Seok adjusting his blanket. He finds a packet containing tablets, sleeping pills. Elsewhere, we see Yejin getting her car repaired. Then she gets a call from Lee Seok. He says, "Maybe you left your stuff at my house." She checks her bag and says, "I'm coming to get it." Because it's late, Lee Seok tells her, "I'll come halfway. You come." We see that Lee Seok doesn't use his own phone. He calls from Miss Yang's phone. This is because his number is saved in Yejin's phone under her mother's name. Before leaving, he looks at the tablets, which say they should be consumed in small quantities. Then he gets a call from Park, who says there's an emergency. Then we see him rush to the farm. He says that when he arrived, there was water everywhere because of the humidity control. Lee Seok says, "Take them out quickly, and we need to spray them." On the other side, we see Yejin, who has arrived and locks her car. We see her walking away, and she bumps into a woman. While putting her key in her pocket, it slips and falls under a dustbin. Later, she realizes her car key is missing and starts searching everywhere. On the other side, we see Lee Suk, who has cleaned everything up and leaves. Yijin is sitting alone in the rain, and the lights slowly go off. She seems scared as she sits there. We are shown several scenes of her waiting for her mother. She says her mother promised to come, and she starts crying, both in the past and in the present. Then Lee Suk arrives and walks toward her. Yijin gets up and immediately hugs him. Lee Suk is shocked. In the next scene, we see them both sitting a little farther apart because of what just happened. Then he says, "Sorry, I'm late." She asks if he brought it, to which he replies, "Yes." He gives her a single tablet pouch and says, "It seems you'll only take one a day, and I'll come to give it to you every day," meaning they will meet every day. Then we are shown a flashback where we see Yijin at her house. She is sleeping and talking on the phone saying, "Mom, I'm going to a village. There, I met a guy who was very rude." At that moment, Lee Suk is standing in front of her, listening to everything, which means she called him. Yijin continues, "But whenever I'm near him, I feel like everything will be fine." He listens quietly, and by then she has already fallen asleep. He cuts the call and leaves her room. Then we return to the present, where they are both sitting, and the lights come back on. Then we see Yejin responding to Lee Seok's talk that they will meet every single day. Hearing this, Yejin immediately asks him, "Why do I have to get my medicines from you?" But instead of answering properly, Lee Seok quickly changes the topic. He tells her that he has finally agreed to renew the contract with the Leitoile company. Then he takes out the documents from his bag and hands them to Yejin. However, there was also a condition attached to the deal, and surprisingly, Yejin immediately agrees to it and becomes extremely happy. But then she says that there's still another problem. Then we see that her car was being taken away by a tow truck. Yejin says that she'll just take a cab from there, but then she realizes her phone has died. So Lee Seok ends up offering to drop her home himself. Now, during the drive, Yejin just keeps talking non-stop, while Lee Seok gets annoyed and tells her to stay quiet for a moment. After that, he suddenly brings up the topic of her tablets. He says, "Those medicines are useless for you. You've been taking them for a very long time." Yejin becomes shocked and asks, "How do you know that?" Lee Seok simply replies, "I just know." At this point, we are shown a flashback scene where we see Lee Seok crying alone, surrounded by countless medicine tablets lying beside him. Even there, he keeps repeating the same thing. "These medicines are not right for you." After some time, they finally arrive in Seoul. Lee Seok notices that Yejin has fallen asleep during the ride, so he gently wakes her up. Before leaving, Yejin asks for his number. At first, Lee Seok refuses to give it to her, but in the end, he still secretly gives her the number anyway. Now, at this moment, the gate of the car wasn't opening properly. Because of that, Lee Seok steps closer and opens the gate for her himself, and due to standing so close to each other, both of them suddenly start staring into each other's eyes awkwardly. Meanwhile, we see Yejin saving the contact in her phone. Then, while checking the WhatsApp profile picture, we realize something shocking. The picture actually belongs to Mr. Park, meaning the number Lee Seok gave her was not even his own number. It was Park's number instead. After entering the house, Yejin sees Sung sleeping there already. She wakes her up, but Sung instantly starts scolding her angrily. She says, "Where were you all this time? I was so worried about you. Your phone was switched off too." Yejin was about to tell her about the project and show her the contract, but Sung was too angry to listen and simply says she's going to sleep. On the other side, we see Lee Seok increasing his phone volume to maximum because he was hoping Yejin might call him. Meanwhile, Yejin takes her tablets and tries to sleep, but even after lying down, she can't fall asleep because she keeps thinking about Lee Seok. The next morning, we see Mr. Moo, who gets startled the moment he sees Lee Seok in the office. Even Lee Seok wakes up because of him. Today, Yejin still hadn't called Lee Seok even once. Lee Seok then hands Mr. Moo a file and tells him to read it carefully before leaving. And that file was actually the renewal contract related to the Leitoile company. On the other hand, Yejin wakes up and notices a bandage on her foot. Confused, she asks Sung, "Did I walk somewhere in my sleep last night?" But Sung denies it and says, "No, you slept like a dead person." In the next scene, we see Lee Seok eating food at Miss Yang's house, and she keeps teasing him. She asks, "Where were you the whole night?" Lee Seok casually answers, "I was working." Now we move back to Yejin, who had already arrived at the office. Here, she was talking to Eric while showing him a perfume bottle design. She tells him, "You'll need to change this pump." At first, Eric refuses and says, "This design is part of our Leitoile company's identity." But Yejin directly replies, "Your identity won't matter if customers don't buy the product. I want this perfume to actually sell well." And because of her confidence, Eric finally agrees. He says, "Fine, I'll change the pumps. Hearing this, everyone becomes happy. On the other side, we see Lee Suk repairing a road together with Park. During work, Lee Suk tells him, I gave your number to Yi Jin. Hearing this, Park becomes happy for a second and asks, did she directly ask for my number from you? But then Lee Suk immediately ruins his happiness by saying, I only gave your number so I could talk to her myself. For the next 9 or 10 days, we'll need to stay in contact. Meanwhile, at the company, Yi Jin and the other employees were still working late into the evening. Seeing this, Eric brings food for everyone. Later, we see Eric and Yi Jin sitting together. Yi Jin asks him, you already dropped off the food, so why are you still here? And Eric smiles before replying, I came because I wanted to see you. Eric then laughs and says, I'm just joking. I actually came here to tell you that our packaging company has already finished making 10,000 bottles for the product launch. The moment Yi Jin hears this, she becomes extremely happy. But after getting excited for a moment, she quickly says, I still have work to do, and leaves immediately. Soon after, Eric receives a call from his sister. During the call, he proudly says, our product is going to launch very successfully in Korea. On the other side, we see Yi Jin carefully looking at the product details again. Just then, her mother, Miss Song, arrives there. She asks Yi Jin, do you really want to launch this product? Then she suddenly tells her to stop everything. She reminds her about what happened in the past and starts bringing up painful memories again. She keeps saying harsh things to her, which clearly hurts Yi Jin deeply. Unable to listen anymore, Yi Jin quietly leaves from there feeling sad. In the next scene, we see Lee Suk at a library. Park had told him that Yi Jin wanted to meet him there, so he had come there to give Yi Jin her medicine. When Lee Suk arrives, he sees Yi Jin sitting alone. At that moment, she looked slightly upset, so instead of sitting beside her, Lee Suk quietly sits at a distance. After waiting for some time, he notices that Yi Jin had disappeared from there. But then suddenly, she appears beside him and asks, did you block my number? She even shows him her phone and says, I had called you many times, but you didn't pick up. Lee Suk calmly replies, I probably just didn't check my phone. After that, Yi Jin takes her tablets and starts leaving. But while walking away, she accidentally drops all the books she was carrying. Lee Suk immediately helps her pick them up and then puts them in her car. Yi Jin softly thanks him for helping. Lee Suk then asks, why are you carrying so many books anyway? Aren't you just going to read from a script? But Yi Jin explains that she never speaks directly from scripts. She says, if you want to explain something properly to people, you need to truly love it first. Then she adds, I really love this product. At that moment, her stomach suddenly hurts, and she admits that she hadn't eaten anything the entire day. So the two of them end up going somewhere to eat together. Here, we see Yi Jin eating happily while Lee Suk quietly watches her. Then Lee Suk starts complimenting her. He says, I'm learning a lot from you. I thought you just said what is written in your script, but now I come to know that you don't read through scripts but talk by yourself. That's incredibly difficult. At the same time, he was slowly beginning to understand Yi Jin better as a person. Yi Jin then reveals her secret. She says, if you love your product, then you will never get tired of explaining about it. Later, we see Lee Suk returning home, thinking about what Yi Jin had said earlier. Then we are shown a flashback scene where Lee Suk was showing some important test results to his two friends, and he looked incredibly happy during that moment. The next day, Yi Jin's team arrives at Lee Suk's place because they were going to do a photo shoot there. Here, Lee Suk asks Sung to warn everyone not to touch anything there. Soon, Yi Jin also arrives there. Before meeting Lee Suk, she changes from her sandals into proper shoes, but before she can even meet him properly, Eric suddenly arrives there too. His assistant immediately starts taking photos of Eric and Yi Jin together, and while watching all this from a distance, Lee Suk quietly becomes jealous. Sung notices his expression and asks, is there a problem? But Lee Suk denies it. Still, Sung could tell something was wrong. While Eric and Yi Jin were talking together, Lee Suk suddenly walks straight between them. Then, he formally greets Eric. The two shake hands, but instead of a normal handshake, both of them start squeezing each other's hands aggressively, almost like they were secretly competing with each other. In the next scene, the filming finally begins. Lee Suk keeps watching Eric and Yi Jin together the entire time. Then the staff starts recording the handshake scene between Eric and Yi Jin, but suddenly Song yells, "Cut!" because Lee Suk was standing awkwardly in the background. To avoid ruining the shot, Lee Suk starts pretending to brush things in the background while standing there awkwardly. After that, they begin filming Lee Suk separately. He was supposed to calmly cut a mushroom for the scene, but while filming, he notices Eric and Yijin talking together behind him. The moment he sees them together again, he gets angry, and instead of cutting the mushroom properly, he crushes it violently with his bare hand. Park, who is standing nearby, immediately says, "You shouldn't do that in front of the camera. You know how you're supposed to behave during filming." But Lee Seok suddenly snaps at him angrily. He shouts, "I know! You've been saying camera, camera, non-stop this whole time." Because of Lee Seok's outburst, everyone decides to take a break. Meanwhile, Eric had already arranged tea for the whole staff. But right then, Mr. Moo suddenly arrives there with an entire truck full of food and drinks for everyone. Yijin also takes some food for herself and even gives some to Lee Seok. Lee Seok softly says, "Thank you." And surprisingly, Yijin also thanks him back. After that, the same cafe girl named Moon arrives there and starts talking to Mr. Moo. She complains, "You can't bring all this food here. My cafe is nearby. If you keep feeding everyone for free, my business will shut down." But Mr. Moo casually replies, "This food belongs to the farm anyway. I'm only feeding these people, not the whole world." Mr. Moo then smiles and says, "Your cafe isn't going to shut down anyway, because you're too beautiful for that." Hearing this, everyone starts laughing. After that, we see all of them sitting together and eating food happily. Here, Eric and Lee Seok are sitting beside Yejin, and then both accidentally eat something extremely spicy, and instantly both of their mouths start burning. They begin panicking and shouting for water. Yejin quickly fills a glass with water, but now she becomes confused about whom she should give it to first. Before she can decide, Eric suddenly grabs the glass from her hand. Meanwhile, Lee Seok goes to get water himself, but at that moment, Yejin quietly gives Eric something sweet to help with the spice instead. Seeing this, Lee Seok starts glaring at Yejin angrily. On the other side of the table, we see Sung sitting beside Mr. Park. Here, Mr. Moo was struggling to pick up something, so Moon helps him. And the moment Moon helps Mr. Moo, Park instantly becomes jealous. Then Sung personally feeds Mr. Park something, and the poor guy's heart almost explodes. His cheeks turn completely red. In the next scene, Mr. Park arrives at his friend's clinic place and dramatically says, "Please check my heart. It has always beaten only for Moon. But now I don't know what's happening. I think my heart is broken." But instead of taking him seriously, they simply put medical equipment on him and completely ignore his emotional speech. On the other side, we see Yejin and Eric walking together, where Yejin tells Eric that she's going to the farm because she had some work there. Eric immediately says he'll go with her, but right then, Eric receives a call. His assistant reminds him about an important meeting, so he has no choice but to leave. After that, Yejin starts working at the farm. Lee Seok walks over to her and quietly hands her the tablets again. Yejin looks at him and says, "Today must have been really difficult for you, especially the shoot." Lee Seok replies, "It was the first and last time." Then Yejin asks, "If it was so difficult, why didn't you just refuse?" Lee Seok answers honestly, "I agreed because of you. You're working so hard to succeed, and I wanted to help." Hearing this makes Yejin slightly emotional. Then she asks him, "Where should we meet tomorrow?" Lee Seok casually replies, "Anywhere you want." Yejin says, "Starting tomorrow, I won't be this free anymore." But Lee Seok immediately says, "Then I'll just come to your house. I don't have a problem with that." So Yejin finally tells him, "Fine, come to my house at 9 p.m. In the next scene, we see that the perfume bottles had finally been completed. Yejin carefully checks all of them one by one. Meanwhile, we also see Lee Seok inside the lab, testing the perfume samples again. After that, we are shown several nights passing by. Every night, Lee Seok keeps coming to give Yejin her tablets, and Yejin quietly takes them before leaving again. Then one night, Lee Seok arrives with the medicine, but Yejin still hadn't come yet. Because of that, he goes looking for her and eventually finds her at a shop. There, Yejin was buying energy drinks and supplements because she planned to stay awake all night working. The moment Lee Seok sees this, he immediately stops her. He tells her, "You don't need to stay awake all night. This isn't good for you." But Yejin replies, "Tonight I don't need those tablets. I'm staying awake anyway." At that moment, Lee Seok suddenly says, "Come with me." Then he takes her to a beautiful place overlooking the city. The moment Yejin sees the night view, she becomes genuinely happy. While standing there, Lee Seok quietly compliments her. He says, "You'll do very well in your work, because you understand yourself very well." Hearing this makes Yejin extremely happy, and the two of them simply sit there together peacefully. Later that night, after returning home, Yijin keeps thinking about what Lee Seok said before finally focusing on her work again. On the other side, we see Eric buying jewelry for Yijin so that he can gift her tomorrow after the broadcast of their product launch. Meanwhile, back in the lab, Lee Seok carefully reviews the perfume test results again, and this time he notices something seriously wrong. Immediately, he goes to Mr. Mu and asks him to talk to Eric and stop the product launch. Mr. Mu asks the reason, and he shows him the test reports. Then he says, "What happened with Somi? I won't let that happen to someone else again." Then we see Mr. Mu calling Eric and informing him about the issue. On the other side, Lee Seok instantly rushes to the company. After arriving there, he quickly meets Yijin and explains everything. Apparently, one of the ingredients inside the perfume had been mixed in an unsafe amount. Lee Seok urgently tells her, "You need to stop the broadcast immediately." But then something surprising happens. Yijin refuses. She says, "Everyone is already waiting for me." Even though he continues trying to stop her, Yijin still heads toward the live broadcast. Lee Seok follows her and tries to enter the broadcast room, but the security does not let him go inside. Then finally, the broadcast begins. But right after starting, Yijin suddenly shocks everyone by saying, "Today, we will not be selling this product." Yijin calmly explains to the viewers that she wanted to introduce the essence in the best possible way, and because of that, she believes they need a little more time before officially selling it. Everyone behind the scenes becomes shocked. Then we see Yijin continuing the live broadcast confidently. She tells the audience to think of today's show as a session to learn more about L'Etoile's La Fine essence, and repeatedly reminds everyone that the product will not actually be sold during tonight's broadcast. The staff members panic after hearing this. A primetime home shopping slot costs millions every minute, and Yijin is using the time without selling anything. Then we see her carefully explaining the product's ingredients. She says the most surprising thing about La Fine essence is its raw material. The main ingredient is a rare white flower nori mushroom. She explains that this mushroom only grows in Korea and is cultivated exclusively in Deokpong village. She says even small changes in temperature or humidity can ruin the mushrooms, so they require extremely delicate care. Meanwhile, the executives behind the broadcast are furious. Then Yejin honestly admits that La Fine essence is already a famous product that does not really need her introduction. The executives completely lose patience, and someone orders the team to stop the broadcast immediately and switch to a pre-recorded segment. Finally, the live showcase ends. Yejin politely thanks the viewers for listening and promises they will return with another broadcast soon. Then we see the atmosphere at Hit Home Shopping becoming extremely tense. One executive angrily calls Yejin crazy and asks if she has lost her mind, accusing her of forgetting the most basic rule of being a home shopping. According to her, a host should spend every second trying to sell the product. But Yijin calmly defends herself, saying that if it is a product she cannot fully trust, then she cannot confidently sell it. This only makes the executive even angrier, and she tells Yejin to leave immediately. Then we see Yejin stepping outside after the stressful broadcast, where she unexpectedly meets Lee Seok. Lee Seok immediately hugs her because he also watched the live broadcast. Here, we see Eric, who also came to meet Yejin, but seeing both of them together, he quietly leaves. In the next scene, we see both of them sitting near the riverside. Yejin asks him why he came to HIT without even knowing how she would react. Lee Seok honestly admits that the only thing he could think about was finding her, and that he believed they would think the same way. Yejin realizes something emotional and asks if that means he trusted her. He quietly nods and reassures her that everyone will eventually realize she made the right decision. Yejin thanks him sincerely for helping her, and promises that one day she will support him the same way. Then we see Eric going to the production side of L'Etoile and carefully checking the microbial test results. The workers explain that all the numbers are within the safe limit and insist there are no problems. They even mention it already passed strict European standards, but the growth rate seems strange to him. Then we see Eric making a sudden decision and ordering the team to suspend all production immediately. Right after that, Eric receives a call from his sister, who is furious and confused about the broadcast. But instead of blaming Yijin, Eric surprisingly tells them not to touch Yijin. Then we see social media exploding with rumors. People begin questioning whether the product has serious problems, and many accuse the company of hiding something. At the same time, Hit Home Shopping prepares for another broadcast, and the executives discuss how to fix the situation. Before agreeing, Eric requests another product test, and finally, they agree. Then we see the news spreading even more online. L'Etoile releases an official statement saying the product has no problems and that the broadcast was changed only because of Yijin's personal decision. This causes even more criticism toward Yijin. Many people online start blaming her. Then we see Yijin becoming completely overwhelmed. Her phone keeps ringing non-stop and negative articles spread everywhere. People accuse her of ruining the launch. Meanwhile, Yijin's father also sees the news and desperately tries calling her, but the call does not connect, so he calls Miss Song. On the other side, Lee Seok is worried about Yijin, so he visits Mr. Park late at night and asks to borrow his phone. Then we see Lee Seok calling Yijin. As soon as she answers, she asks whether the product exceeded the microbial safety limit. Lee Seok calmly says no, it has not exceeded the limit yet. Yejin becomes confused and asks why he called earlier if the numbers were still technically safe. But instead of answering, Lee Seok gives strange advice, telling her to wear socks while sleeping because it helps circulation. Yejin cannot believe it and asks if he really called just to talk about socks. Then she quietly reveals she understands why he actually called and says he should rest before hanging up. The next day, we see Lee Seok visiting Eric. He says the company already distanced itself from Yejin and claims she acted alone, but he still looks worried. Eric insists the numbers were still below the danger limit and thinks Yejin overreacted. Then Eric says Yejin herself will handle the follow-up broadcast, but Lee Seok quietly asks whether she will even be okay until then, because public criticism is becoming severe. Then we see Yejin attending a serious meeting at Hit Home Shopping. She stands confidently and explains that protecting customer trust was more important than making sales, and says she will take responsibility. But the executives become furious. One accuses her of abusing her power, and another says she created a huge scandal. Finally, director Hyun-gi announces that her contract is terminated immediately. But even after getting fired, Yejin does not lower her head. She calmly says she only tried to keep the promise made to customers, and that everyone will realize she was not wrong. Then we see her sadly leaving the office. Her coworkers ask if she is really leaving, but Yejin forces a smile and says it is only a temporary retreat and that she will return someday. Then we see Yejin meeting a doctor. The doctor notices she is still taking sleeping pills carelessly and warns her again about insomnia and stress. Yejin pretends she is fine, but the doctor can see she is not. Then the scene shifts again, and we see Miss Song visiting Yejin's house. She tells Yejin to stay away from the cosmetics industry forever. Yejin realizes she came because she heard about her getting fired. Miss Song says Yejin could not handle the situation and ran away again, but Yejin fights back emotionally, saying the one who truly ran away was her mother when she abandoned her child years ago. The atmosphere becomes cold and Miss Song leaves. Then we see Lee Seok obsessively checking the microbial test results. Mr. Moo notices how exhausted he looks and asks if he is okay, but Lee Seok says he is fine. Then Mr. Moo forcefully takes him out for dinner. Meanwhile, Yejin is at home watching Yoonji's live broadcast, where she excitedly talks about how difficult it was to secure enough stock as orders keep flooding in. Then we see Yejin looking completely exhausted and emotionally broken. She gets up and starts sleepwalking. Then we see her calling Lee Seok and saying, "Mom." When Lee Seok hears traffic sounds, he asks where she is. Yejin quietly says she is on her way to do the broadcast. Then we see Lee Seok desperately asking the driver to take him to Hit Home Shopping as fast as possible. At the same time, Yejin starts remembering painful memories about her mother. She becomes weak and dizzy. Then we see Lee Seok rushing toward her and finally finding her outside the studio. Yejin weakly looks at him and reveals something shocking. Miss Song is actually her mother. Lee Seok is stunned, but even in that condition, Yejin keeps saying she still has to go and do the broadcast because she prepared so hard. Then he takes her back home. After that, when she wakes up, she finds her feet bandaged, and when she comes out, she finds Lee Seok there. Then we see Lee Seok ask her directly whether she took all the pills at once. Yejin coldly asks why it matters to him. Lee Seok becomes frustrated and worried at the same time. Yejin finally breaks down emotionally. She says she already knows she has hit rock bottom and that everyone keeps reminding her that her life is a complete mess. But right now, pretending to be okay is the only thing she can still do. Then she tearfully asks why nobody will even allow her to pretend anymore, and what she should do if this really is the end for her. The moment becomes heartbreaking. Then we see the story shift back to Eric and L'Etoile. Hit Home Shopping requests another QA inspection and new product documents. Eric's sister Michelle becomes angry because the company should be receiving compensation instead, but Eric calmly says they already agreed to a follow-up broadcast. Michelle becomes furious and asks if he has lost his mind. Then the conversation turns emotional. Eric quietly says that ever since he came there, he always felt distance between them, and whenever she shouted at him, he felt like nothing more than something she used when stressed. But despite that, he still wanted to be someone she truly needed. Then we again see Lee Seok and Yejin. Lee Seok asks if she regrets stopping the broadcast that day. Yejin immediately says no. Then Lee Seok asks why she looks so miserable if she still believes she made the right choice. Meanwhile, Lee Seok decides to take Yejin away from the stressful environment. Even though she resists at first, he quietly insists she come with him, and we see him bringing her to Deokpung village. Miss Yang warmly welcomes Yejin and quickly starts preparing food for her because she looks extremely weak. After that, Yejin goes to bring food from the kitchen but becomes unconscious and falls due to weakness. In the next scene, we see her in the hospital. The doctor checks her and says she is severely malnourished, dehydrated, exhausted, and suffering from insomnia. He explains that her body has forced itself to shut down because she pushed herself too hard, but reassures them she will recover with rest. Hearing this, everyone feels relieved. Then we see Yejin waking up later. The villagers happily rush toward her, but instead of saying anything dramatic, she quietly says she is hungry. The villagers decide to prepare a huge meal for her. After that, another problem appears. The villagers realize there is nowhere for Yejin to stay. Miss Yang says her house is occupied, and another says her house is too crowded. Everyone starts discussing options, but then they all look toward Lee Seok. Only then does Yejin realize this was planned, and she will stay at Lee Seok's house. Then we see both of them outside his house. Lee Seok calmly explains he brought her there because he feels partly responsible, and while she stays, she must follow his rules. Yejin asks what his rules are, and he says she will find out soon. Then we see them entering his quiet house. Yejin looks around and notices there are barely any rooms. She even mistakes the bathroom for a bedroom and tries to find another place to sleep, but Lee Seok stops her. He sits on his bed and tells her to sleep there, showing how comfortable it is. Yejin becomes embarrassed and says she can sleep somewhere else, but Lee Seok explains there is no proper bed in the other room. Still, she insists she will manage. After that, Lee Seok prepares dinner for her. While looking around, she notices there is no television in the house and asks how someone can live without one. Lee Seok calmly says he hates loud things. Yejin jokes about lowering the volume and asks if he always lives like this, like someone on a retreat. Lee Seok ignores the teasing and tells her to eat. Then Yejin notices he barely uses his phone either and realizes his lifestyle is completely different. Then they go for a walk, and she jokes that unemployment has some advantages, admitting she already feels better there. Suddenly, Yejin remembers the previous night and nervously asks where he found her. Lee Seok says he happened to pass by Hit Home Shopping and saw her. Yejin becomes embarrassed and asks if she said anything strange. Lee Seok says no. Then Yejin opens up about her struggles. She says maybe this is punishment for how she lived, pushing herself harder every day, believing success would fix everything. But instead, her body became trapped in that routine. Now she feels exhausted and broken. Then Lee Seok comforts her, saying she already achieved something important by realizing the problem. Yejin is surprised and asks how he understands her so well. Then Lee Seok reveals he also once depended on sleeping pills because he could not sleep naturally. Yejin becomes curious and asks how he recovered. Then Lee Seok reminds her of something she once said: "If milk spills, you clean it up little by little." Then the story shifts to Eric. His assistant gives him return tickets because Michelle wants him back, and Eric becomes emotional. Meanwhile, we see Lee Seok preparing something unusual for Yejin. The next morning, Yejin finds a written schedule titled Yejin's Daily Schedule. She laughs, saying she is not a school student, but Lee Seok seriously explains that proper rest requires effort. The routine includes waking up early, exercise, meals, and sleep. Yejin complains she tried all this before, but Lee Seok says consistency matters. Then we see him forcing her into healthy activities. He takes her outside early and she struggles immediately. Then we see his thoughtful methods. He brings her a cervical pillow, which helps her sleep, and later lavender products to calm her mind. Even lavender ice cream appears. Yejin laughs at how strange it all feels, but slowly starts enjoying it. One night, she wakes up and notices Lee Seok working alone outside in the dark. She wonders why he works so hard. As days pass, she starts noticing changes. Her body relaxes and she begins feeling sleepy naturally. Later that night, unable to sleep, she walks around and finds Lee Seok reading poetry. Yejin asks if he enjoys sentimental things. He asks if she still cannot sleep. She takes the book and reads a poem called Light Sleep about shared exhaustion and hope. As she reads, both of them get lost in the emotions, and without realizing it, Yijin falls asleep beside him. The next morning, she wakes up shocked that she slept naturally. She panics and asks if anything strange happened. We see Lee Suk remembering how she fell asleep on his shoulder, but he calmly serves breakfast. Then we see him preparing to leave for work. He says he has a lab inspection and might return late. Yijin asks how late, but he says he does not know and tells her to eat alone. After he leaves, Yijin wanders around the house and notices how clean everything is. She remembers his advice about wearing socks and then notices edge protectors, realizing Lee Suk had been pretending to sleepwalk while actually covering sharp edges to protect her. Later that night, Lee Suk returns and finds Yijin sleeping near the entrance while waiting for him. He gently covers her with a blanket and places a pillow under her head, but she wakes up. He asks why she stayed there and whether she ate, but instead, Yijin quietly says something unexpected. She missed him. Lee Suk freezes. Then she kisses him and says she missed him a lot. Lee Suk is completely shocked. Then we see Lee Suk acting very strange after the kiss incident. Then he picks up Yijin and makes her lay down on her place. But while leaving, he accidentally bumps into something and falls down. After that, we see him inside his room, unable to sleep the entire night, and before he even realizes it, morning arrives. Then Yijin comes to him and asks if he is going for a walk. Lee Suk awkwardly says yes, but while walking, he stumbles once again. After that, both of them start walking together. Here we see that Yijin keeps trying to touch Lee Suk playfully, but every single time, Lee Suk runs away from her because he feels extremely awkward after what happened last night. Earlier, Yijin had confessed that she missed him a lot, and now she keeps bringing up the same thing again and again, which makes Lee Suk even more nervous. Then suddenly, Lee Suk starts acting weird again and quickly leaves from there. In the next scene, we see Lee Suk standing near the fridge taking something out. Just then, Yijin comes there and asks what he is making. But the moment Lee Suk notices her standing close to him, he starts acting awkward once again. Both of them try lifting something together, but at that exact moment, Yomi's sister Najin arrives there while searching for her. She sees both of them behaving strangely together, and she had no idea that Yijin was staying there. Lee Seok quickly explains that he was making breakfast for both of them. Hearing this, Najin immediately says that she also hasn't eaten breakfast yet and asks if she can join them. After that, we see all three of them having breakfast together. Here we see Yijin getting jealous because Lee Seok and Najin keep talking with each other, and their topic is mostly about Yomi. Yijin becomes extremely jealous while watching them and starts eating very quickly, but Lee Seok tells her to slow down and eat properly. After breakfast, we see Najin outside, and Lee Seok follows her there to talk. On the other side, we see Eric's assistant informing him that his flight will leave in 2 hours. But Eric suddenly says that he is not going back to France and tells him to inform his sister about it. Then he says that he is going to the HIT company to talk with them directly. After that, Eric reaches the company and meets the director there. He puts forward a condition, saying that they must bring Yejin back to the company again. Otherwise, his company will stop working with them. Next, we see all the villagers running toward Lee Seok's house while calling him outside for morning exercise. But Lee Seok refuses to come out. Because of this, everyone leaves without him. Then Lee Seok tells Yejin that today they won't do morning exercise, and instead she should come with him somewhere else. Then we see preparations going on in the entire Dakpong village because there is a big community festival happening today. 2 village teams are going to compete against each other, and whichever team wins will receive a television as the prize. However, Lee Seok refuses to participate in the festival at first. Meanwhile, Najin tells Yejin that she should not stay at Lee Seok's house forever because Lee Seok already feels guilty for everything that happened to her. She warns Yejin not to become completely dependent on him and then leaves from there. Then we see Mr. Moo arriving at the festival with a lot of supplies and equipment for the event. There, he meets Mr. Park and asks where he can find cappuccino nearby. Mr. Park pretends not to know because he already knows that the cafe belongs to Moon, and he does not want Mr. Moo to go there. But Moo says that he already knows about Moon Cafe. After that, both of them end up going there together. At the cafe, Mr. Moo asks Moon if she can make cappuccino, but she hesitates and says no. However, Mr. Moo notices that she was secretly practicing cappuccino making on the side. Moon awkwardly admits that she was practicing it. Mr. Moo tastes it and says that it is actually perfect. He even starts explaining how cappuccino should properly be made, showing that he knows a lot about coffee. Then Moon says she can make cappuccino for him, but she will charge double the price, and Mr. Moo happily agrees. On the other side, we see Yejin carrying some heavy things when she suddenly twists her ankle. She watches Lee Seok and Najin working together, but after that, she still stands up again and continues walking. Then we see Lee Suk talking with Mr. Moo and revealing that Yejin is currently staying at his house. Hearing this, Moo becomes completely shocked and immediately says that the only reason Yejin can stay there is because Lee Suk likes her, but Lee Suk does not say anything. After that, Lee Suk returns home where Yejin proudly tells him that she cooked food for him, but honestly, the food already looks terrible just by looking at it. Then Yejin pours sauce all over it, making it look even worse. Even though Lee Suk immediately realizes after tasting it that the food is horrible, he still keeps eating it quietly. Yejin then tries taking away the plate and says she will throw it away if it tastes bad, but Lee Suk quickly stops her. During this moment, he accidentally hits his leg against the table. Yejin gets suspicious and asks why he keeps bumping into things these days. Lee Suk innocently asks when he bumped into something before, but then Yejin casually mentions that he bumped into the door last night too. The moment she says this, Yejin realizes that her secret has been exposed. Then we see a flashback from last night. Yejin was sitting alone while thinking about taking those pills again. But then she notices Lee Suk's note saying that he would return home early. Because of this, she throws the pills into the dustbin and quietly waits for him instead. After some time, Lee Suk finally comes back home. At that moment, Yejin pretends to be asleep. But as soon as Lee Suk gets close to her, Yejin suddenly tells him that she missed him a lot and kisses him. Right after kissing him, she starts pretending to sleep again. Meanwhile, Lee Suk carries her carefully to her room and puts her on the bed, not realizing that Yejin was actually fully awake the whole time. Then, when Lee Suk accidentally bumps into the gate while Yejin secretly watches him, the moment he closes the gate, Yejin starts talking to herself in embarrassment, wondering what exactly she had done last night. Now at present, she starts acting strangely, and after that, she awkwardly runs back to her room. The next day, we see both Lee Suk and Yejin arriving together again for the competition, but both of them are still behaving extremely awkwardly around each other. Just then, Eric arrives there and tells Lee Suk that he came to meet Yejin. Before he can properly talk with her, Mr. Park suddenly interferes and says that since Eric is here, he must participate in the competition too. Eric agrees immediately. Then we see Lee Suk following Eric everywhere while carrying supplies. All of this is being secretly noticed by the others. Then Hong asks Young whose side she is on, Lee Suk's team or Eric's team. Young replies that she is on Yejin's team only. Hearing this, Hong also says that he is on Yejin's team too. Soon, the rival village team also arrives there. Then Miss Yang proudly introduces some new members in their team. And honestly, the way those people walk in feels so overdramatic that it becomes hilarious. One member from the opposite team was so huge that calling him an elephant would honestly fit better. Finally, the competition starts. The first round is arm wrestling between Mr. Park and the giant man. At first, Mr. Park is losing badly, but then he suddenly looks toward Young, who is cheering for him while blinking sweetly at him. The moment Young blinks at him, Mr. Park gains sudden strength and wins the match. Everyone starts celebrating happily. Then Young suddenly hugs Mr. Park, shocking everyone around them. In the next round, the opponent is revealed to be someone who once participated in an Asian championship. On the other side, Young steps forward to compete. Mr. Park becomes worried because he thinks she will lose badly. But surprisingly, Young defeats her opponent very easily. Watching this, Mr. Park's heart starts beating rapidly. Then we see several flashbacks of Moon taking care of him lovingly in the past. Mr. Park becomes confused and starts wondering why his heart is suddenly beating for Young now. After that, he tries going to Moon, but then he sees Moon together with Mr. Moo, who is taking care of her kindly. Surprisingly, Mr. Park realizes that he does not feel jealous at all while watching them together. This shocks him even more. Next, we see Miss Yang and Eric participating in a guessing game where they must solve quizzes without speaking. Eric acts out the words dramatically while Miss Yang quickly guesses everything correctly. Together, they win the round very easily. Then comes the funniest round of all, where Lee Suk and Yejin become teammates. During every single quiz clue, Yejin keeps touching and showing her lips toward Lee Suk. Lee Suk becomes completely confused and keeps skipping every question one after another. Finally, at the very end, Lee Suk blurts out, "I love your lips!" The moment everyone hears this, they become completely shocked, and immediately everyone starts beating Lee Suk up playfully. Later, we see everyone making fun of them. Then we see Na-jin sealing some packages perfectly, and someone comments that she does everything with the same amount of perfection. After that, we see Yomi coming to drink water while avoiding eye contact with someone. Then Yejin kindly tells her to drink water comfortably because she will stand in front of her to block everyone's view. Na-jin secretly notices this caring behavior. Soon, the scores of both teams become equal. The The final round is a running race where teammates must pass an item to each other while running. During the race, Lee Suk and Yi-jin keep staring at each other. Finally, Lee Suk becomes the last runner, and he starts running incredibly fast. But instead of passing the item to Yi-jin like he was supposed to, Lee Suk directly crosses the finish line himself. Because of this mistake, his team gets disqualified and the opposite team wins. Then, at night, we see everyone gathering the equipment together after the festival ends. Young then approaches Mr. Park with chocolates and asks if she can call him sometime. Mr. Park happily agrees. Meanwhile, Na-jin approaches Lee Suk and asks if she can talk with him privately. Yi-jin watches them walking away together. Then Young comes toward Yi-jin and tells her that she was genuinely worried about her because Yi-jin used to live only for work. But now she finally feels like Yi-jin is starting to live like a normal human being. Hearing this, Yi-jin smiles warmly. After that, Eric approaches Yi-jin again and asks if she wants to return to the company. He tells her that if she wants, she can leave with him right now. But then the scene shifts toward Na-jin sitting with Lee Seok. She tells him that he already knows what she is about to say because he already understands her feelings. First, she thanks him sincerely for everything, but then she confesses that she likes him. However, Lee Seok apologizes to her instead. She sadly smiles and says that she already knew because the whole time, Lee Seok was only looking at Yi-jin. She says she understands his feelings and quietly leaves from there. On the other side, Yi-jin tells Eric that he does not need to do all these things for her anymore. She says that right now she does not want to go anywhere. Eric accepts her decision and says he will continue waiting for her no matter how long it takes. After that, he sits there alone quietly. Finally, we see Lee Seok returning home carrying a spray for Ye-jin. Yi-jin asks if this spray is the reason he came back so late. Lee Seok tells her to go inside, but Yi-jin refuses and asks him to sit there with her first. Then she starts asking him several questions one after another. She asks why he ran directly during the race, why he installed so many things inside the house, why he kept coming every day to give her pills, and why he cares about her so much. She demands honest answers from him. But then Lee Seok asks her something in return. He asks why she kissed him yesterday. Yi-jin nervously explains that she had been waiting for him the entire night and became extremely nervous, not knowing what to do. Then she asks why Lee Seok pretended to forget everything afterward. She says that every time she tried touching him, he kept running away, so she thought maybe it was better not to bring it up at all. Then she says that all of this happened because of him. But Lee Seok smiles and replies that whatever happens from now on will happen because of her. But Ye-jin didn't understand what his means. But just then, we see Lee Seok finally kissing Ye-jin properly, and then both starts kissing each other properly for a long time. And with that, the episode ends right here. After that, both of them enter the room together. Here we see Ye-jin saying that instead of sleeping separately, why don't they spend some time together so they can fall asleep naturally? Lee Seok agrees to it. Then we see both of them reading a book together, and while reading, they slowly fall asleep right there beside each other. Here, we also notices something very important. Ye-jin is finally sleeping peacefully without taking those sleeping tablets. On the other side, we see Eric meeting his sister Michelle, who had come to Korea. Here, Michelle tells Eric to immediately go to the HID company and tell them that the broadcast will not happen. But he says that the Korean launch is under her control, so only he will decide what happens. After that, we see Michelle leaving with the assistant, where she secretly orders him to remove all the perfume essences from the factory. In other words, she wants all the evidence to disappear. In the next scene, we see Mr. Park standing outside Lee Seok's house and secretly watching everything. At that moment, Yomi arrives there and asks him what he is doing. While they are talking, Yi-jin and Lee Seok suddenly come outside together. Here, the two of them are adorably arguing because Yi-jin wants to go with Lee Seok, while Lee Seok keeps refusing because her leg is still hurting. Yi-jin then suggests playing a game, saying that if she wins, Lee Seok will have to agree with everything she says for the entire day. They start playing, and surprisingly, Yi-jin wins the game. After that, she happily grabs Lee Seok's hand and starts walking with him. Mr. Kim and Yomi see all of this together. Yomi immediately becomes worried and says that now she is scared for her sister's feelings. Then we see everyone arriving at the farm, where all the workers immediately begin teasing Lee Seok and Yi-jin. Mr. Park also arrives there and acts suspiciously as usual. After that, the scene shifts toward Young, who is taking selfies and sending them to Mr. Park. Along with the selfie, she writes that the broadcast is going to start very soon. The moment Mr. Park sees the message, he completely loses his mind. He immediately runs toward the doctor and asks what Young actually meant by sending that picture. Now he jokingly tells him that she obviously wants him to buy as many products as possible. Hearing this, Mr. Park actually starts buying the products like a fool. Next, we see Ye-jin approaching Lee Seok while he is working. She asks him why he is not resting like everyone else, and then asks how they should spend tonight together. Yejin excitedly suggests watching a drama together, and Lee Seok agrees. But because they are extremely close to each other, Yejin suddenly becomes shy and awkward. She immediately runs away from there while smiling happily. Outside, we see Yejin feeling extremely happy. But then she notices Yomi practicing a speech because she wants to become class president. Yomi is very nervous and says that she cannot even remove her mask properly. Nobody in her class really knows her, and even her voice is too soft. Hearing this, Yejin decides to help her. She tells Yomi that she knows everything about presentation skills because she is a shopping host. Then we see Yejin training her seriously, even teaching her how to speak loudly and confidently. Yomi becomes very impressed and even gives Yejin her phone number. She also reveals that her older sister once wanted to become a shopping host too, but because of Yomi's condition, she could never follow her dream. Yejin then tells her that there is currently a hosting vacancy at the company, so her sister should apply. After that, we see Lee Seok and Yejin together again. Yejin looks at Lee Seok and honestly admits that she fell in love with him the first time she saw how passionately he worked. She says that when Lee Seok works, it feels like he is truly alive. Lee Seok notices that she is becoming emotional, so he quietly pulls her closer and makes her help him with his work. But after some time, the atmosphere becomes romantic again, and both of them start kissing each other. Because of the changing weather, it even begins raining around them, making the moment feel even more emotional. Later, both of them return home. They are extremely happy, but they still sleep separately. In the next scene, we see Yejin dropping Yomi at school and wishing her good luck for the election. Yejin reminds her to smile through her eyes and express her feelings confidently, just like she taught her before. At school, there are two candidates for the president election. First, another girl gives her speech normally. Then it becomes Yomi's turn. At first, Yomi speaks softly so nobody can hear her. But then she suddenly remembers Yejin's training and starts speaking loudly and confidently. Immediately, everyone becomes impressed with her. She ends up winning the election, and suddenly the entire class wants to become her friend. Yomi becomes extremely happy and even starts hanging out with everyone. Later, Yomi calls her sister and excitedly tells her that she is currently spending time with her new friends. Hearing this, her sister becomes emotional and happy. Yomi also tells Lee Seok about winning the election, and he smiles proudly after hearing it. At night, Lee Seok returns home and sees Yejin looking extremely happy because of Yomi's success. Yejin has also started focusing on her work again. During this moment, Yejin receives a call from her father, but she avoids answering properly and cuts the call quickly. Lee Seok says that it looked like her father was worried about her. Yejin replies that sometimes her father worries a little too much. Then Lee Seok asks her an important question. Since when has she been taking those sleeping tablets? Yejin reveals that she has been taking them for 5 years. After this, we are shown a flashback. Here we see Yejin getting the chance to become a host for the first time because another host had injured her hand. She tells Yejin that she will host the show together with Miss Song. Hearing this, Yejin immediately agrees because she admires her mother greatly. In the next scene, we see them promoting a cream product during the broadcast. Unfortunately, the cream turns out to be dangerous. After the show, everyone starts insulting Yejin outside. Then she watches the television and sees her mother announcing that she is leaving the entertainment industry forever, meaning her entire actress career is destroyed. Yejin immediately goes to her mother, but instead of comforting her, Miss Song blames Yejin for everything. She even accuses Yejin of intentionally ruining her life as revenge. Hearing this, Yejin finally explodes emotionally. She says that her mother suffered only once, but she herself had been suffering every single day. She also says that if her mother truly believes she intentionally caused everything, then she can continue believing that forever. Yejin explains that she always spent every second checking the products carefully. Even if she had more than 24 hours in a day, she would still spend all of them working. Lee Seok hears all of this and becomes emotional. Afterward, we see him sitting alone at his desk, completely lost in thought. Then we get another flashback, where we see Lee Seok and his friends becoming happy making the good morning cream. Finally, we understand the shocking truth. Lee Seok himself had created that cream. In other words, the product that destroyed Yejin's life was actually made by Lee Seok. The next day, we see Yomi's condition becoming even worse. The rashes on her face and body have spread badly. Because of this, her sister rushes toward Lee Seok's house while crying. Lee Seok immediately runs to help after hearing what happened. But before Yejin can follow them, Najin stops her and angrily says that all of this happened because of Yejin. She blames her for not stopping the broadcast earlier. Then we see Lee Seok taking Yomi to the hospital. Thankfully, her condition becomes slightly better. Yomi still says that she wants to go to school because she promised her friends she would come. She also reveals that she ate a burger with her friends the previous day, which might have worsened her condition. Hearing this, Najin leaves and Lee Seok follows her. She becomes furious at Lee Seok. She says that Yomi only ate one burger, yet her condition immediately became horrible again. She tells Lee Seok that she does not think she will ever forgive him for this. Later, Najin returns home and sees Yejin sitting outside. Yejin apologizes sincerely and says that she is willing to do anything to help, but Najin refuses and coldly tells her to leave. At night, we see Lee Seok returning home where Yejin is sitting on the sofa crying uncontrollably. She keeps blaming herself for everything happening to Yomi. She says that Yomi has to wear a mask in extreme heat because of her. While Yejin cries loudly, Lee Seok silently cries too because deep inside, he knows this tragedy actually began because of him. Then morning arrives, but Lee Seok has not slept at all. Then Mr. Moo calls him and reveals something horrifying. The limit of the dangerous substance in the perfume essence has increased even more. In other words, the perfume essence has become even more toxic than before. Then Lee Seok also informs Eric about this. Then Michelle also learns about this news and she immediately orders everyone to destroy all the remaining essence quickly. Then Eric calls her sister and angrily reminds her that he already told her he would handle the Korean launch himself before storming away. Meanwhile, we see Yejin sitting alone when Young calls her and tells her to open a link. Yejin opens it and sees Eric giving an interview. During the interview, Eric publicly takes responsibility for everything. He says that the real problem was with their perfume essence and that none of it was Yejin's fault. He even reveals that Yejin was actually trying to protect the customers, which is why she stopped the broadcast that day. Hearing this, the chairman orders the director to bring Yejin back to the company immediately. On the other side, we see Mr. Moo visiting Moon's cafe with flowers, but Moon says she does not like flowers. She prefers plants instead. So Mr. Moo awkwardly gives the flowers to an ant nearby. Then Moon brutally tells him that she does not like anything about him from top to bottom. Moo becomes depressed and later tries talking to Lee Seok, but Lee Seok walks away without responding. Moo tells him that he is putting way too much pressure on himself. Meanwhile, the company director meets Yejin and asks her to return to work. Yejin says she will think about it first. In the next scene, we see Lee Seok sitting outside alone. Then Yejin suddenly appears while sleepwalking again. This time, she is crying while saying that everything happening to Yomi is her fault and that she wants to go see her immediately. Lee Seok gently hugs her tightly and holds her carefully while Yejin continues crying in her sleep. After that, Eric learns that Yejin refused to return to the company. Meanwhile, Lee Seok is at the farm thinking only about the previous night when Park arrives and tells him that Yejin rejected the company's offer. Later, Eric meets Yejin personally. Yejin apologizes for leaving the HIT company because now Eric alone will have to take responsibility for everything publicly. Eric leaves from there, but afterward he goes directly to Lee Seok. He tells Lee Seok that Yejin is sacrificing her entire future because of him. Eric says that if Lee Seok truly cares about her future, then he should send her back to the company. Later, Yejin is at home looking through some books when she suddenly finds old documents and photographs related to the Good Morning Cream. At that moment, she fully realizes that Lee Seok really was involved in making the cream. Then we see Yomi becoming happy after receiving new shoes from her sister. She expresses her reaction through her eyes, and she proudly tells her sister that Yejin taught her how to express emotions confidently through her eyes. Because of this, Yomi's sister goes to thank Yejin sincerely. However, before leaving, she still says that she cannot forgive Yejin for what happened. Then finally, we see Yejin returns home where Lee Seok tells her that he wants to talk. Yejin also says she has something important to say. She reveals that she rejected the company's offer. Lee Seok replies that he already knows. Then, Lee Seok tells her that she should stop blaming herself because she was not the only person responsible for Yomi's condition. He finally confesses the truth. He was the one who created that cream. But before Yejin can say anything properly, Lee Seok suddenly changes his attitude completely. He says that since she already knows the truth, she should now return to the company. Yejin becomes shocked and asks if that is all he wants to say. She asks him why he allowed her to stay in his house for so long. Lee Seok cruelly lies to her and says that every time he saw her suffering, he only pitied her. He claims that he let her stay there because he felt sorry for her and wanted to take care of her out of guilt. Then he says the most painful thing of all. Whenever he is around her, he feels suffocated, so she should leave. Hearing these heartbreaking words, Yejin completely breaks down crying. Now the story moves into a flashback scene. Here, we see Lee Seok finding out that the cream he created is causing serious side effects. Because of this, Lee Seok starts blaming himself for everything. His friends keeps trying to explain that none of this is actually his fault. But then we see a man named Buso who suddenly says, "You don't need to worry about anything. I'll take all the blame on myself." He tells Lee Seok that he'll handle everything related to the situation. Then the scene changes, and we see Lee Seok receiving a call saying that Buso still hasn't returned home. Because of this, Lee Seok rushes to his office. But the moment he reaches there, he discovers that Buso has committed suicide. Buso even leaves behind a note saying, "Everything is my fault." After this, we see everyone attending Buso's funeral. Lee Seok and Mr. Moo are sitting there completely broken. Just then, one of their old researcher friends arrives and reveals the shocking truth. He tells them that Buso had secretly changed the raw materials and altered many things only for money. Hearing this completely destroys Lee Seok even more. Then the story returns back to the present timeline. Now we see Ye-jin arriving at her house. As soon as she enters, she starts unpacking her belongings. While doing that, she suddenly finds a book that she and Lee Seok had read out that night. At the same time, her father also returns home and cooks food for her. We see Ye-jin taking a bite before emotionally telling her father, "Whenever I start loving someone, why do they always leave me? Am I really that burdensome?" After saying this, she quietly goes to sleep. But even while lying there, she keeps remembering Lee Seok's painful words when he had told her, "Being with you feels suffocating." On the other side, we see Lee Seok having terrible dreams. Because of them, he suddenly wakes up and ends up taking sleeping pills just so he can fall asleep again. The next morning, Lee Seok is at the farm when the others arrive and excitedly tell him that Ye-jin has sent them a huge TV as a gift. They also mention that Ye-jin is going to do a live broadcast today, so everyone should watch it together. However, Lee Seok gives almost no reaction at all, and everyone notices his strange behavior. Meanwhile, we see Ye-jin arriving at work again where everyone warmly welcomes her back. Soon, everybody gets busy with their work, and before they realize it, evening arrives. The staff suggests going out together to eat something, but Ye-jin refuses, so the others leave without her. Then the scene shifts toward Eric. Here, Eric finds out that he has been fired from the company. But instead of getting upset, he sarcastically says to his sister, "Wow, you really did something good for me. Now I can finally do whatever I want." Then he announces that he's going to stay in Korea from now on. Hearing this, his sister asks, "Are you doing all of this because of that girl?" Eric replies, "And if I am, then what? Are you going to take her away from me too?" After that, we see Miss Song, where Ye-jin's father comes to meet her. He tells her that Ye-jin is going through a really difficult time right now, and she should try talking to her, but Miss Song refuses. In the next scene, Yoon-ji arrives there and immediately starts speaking badly about Ye-jin. Hearing this, Song asks her, "Why do you hate Ye-jin so much?" On the other hand, back at home, we see Ye-jin when Song comes to visit her and even brings food along. Then Song asks her what exactly is going on. That's when Ye-jin finally reveals that she and Lee Seok have broken up, but she still cannot understand Lee Seok's true feelings. Then the scene moves toward Lee Seok again. He is quietly sitting alone when suddenly he receives a late-night phone call from Ye-jin. Just like always, she had woken up in the middle of the night and called him. Ye-jin emotionally says, "Mom, I honestly don't know what he thinks about me, but I feel like he really loves me. When he pushed me away, it actually felt like he was hurting even more than I was." After this, we see Lee Seok working at his farm. While working, Lee Seok's hand is injured and bleeding. Then we see Na-jin and the two old ladies who reveal that Lee Seok and Ye-jin may have broken up. They also mention that Lee Seok injured his hand. After that, Somi comes outside and says that she doesn't want to take the bus today. Right then, Lee Seok arrives there to drop her off at school. Here, Na-jin notices the injury on his hand and immediately says, "Then I'll drive instead." After this, the story shifts toward Eric again, who is sitting with his assistant, Mr. Cha. There, Mr. Cha reveals the truth that everything was actually Michelle's fault because they had mixed too many harmful micro-ingredients into the product. Mr. Cha then says, "I'll stand by your side. Back when I lost my job, you were the one who hired me. Now it's my turn to support you." In the next scene, we see Park visiting his doctor friend Dong again. He complains that he bought many of her products, but now she has stopped replying to him. Dong points out that maybe he never reviewed those products. Hearing this, Park suddenly gets excited and says, "That's actually a really good idea." Meanwhile, Song is angrily complaining that the man keeps buying her products and leaving reviews. She says, "I even sent him my photo hoping he'd send me his picture too." Then Hong tells her that maybe the guy is actually trying to distance himself from her. But suddenly Ye-jin arrives there, causing both of them to immediately go silent. Then the scene changes once again toward Eric. Here, Mr. Cha had arranged a place for Eric to stay temporarily. But when Eric goes to the apartment and tries opening the gate using the security code, he keeps entering the wrong password, causing the alarm to go off loudly. At that exact moment, the gate next door opens, and Yejin walks out. Completely shocked, she asks him, "What are you doing here?" Eric explains that Mr. Cha sent him here to stay for a few days, and that he had no idea she also lived here. Yejin then helps turn off the alarm, and because of that, Eric ends up taking her out to eat with him. On the other side, we are shown Michelle, where Mr. Cha is also present. There, she says that they need to secure a contract with Lee Seok's company, but Mr. Cha immediately replies that Lee Seok will never agree to work with them. However, she coldly says, "I'll make sure he has no other option left." Meanwhile, we see Mr. Moo and Lee Seok together when they discover that all of their business contracts have been canceled. The companies that used to buy mushrooms from them have now completely stopped taking supplies. Mr. Moo then says that their next meeting is in Bangkok, and they'll have to go there personally to discuss things. Lee Seok simply replies, "Okay, I'm ready to go." On the other hand, we see Yejin busy working when she suddenly picks up Lee Seok's book. As she starts flipping through it, she notices small notes and markings Lee Seok had placed inside. Every single word Yejin had ever read from the book had been carefully highlighted by Lee Seok. The moment she sees this, Yejin becomes emotional. Then the next day, we see Yejin arriving in Bangkok at the exact same hotel where Lee Seok is staying. And soon enough, the two come face to face. But instead of talking to her, Lee Seok simply walks past her without saying a single word. After that, we see Lee Seok sitting with Mr. Moo, who says, "I saw you two together before. Is that why all of this is happening? What exactly happened between you guys?" That's when Lee Seok finally reveals that they've broken up. He says, "I told her everything. I told her that the product got ruined because of me. I don't want her getting hurt because of my problems." But Mr. Moo replies, "I saw her face. She looked completely broken. Even if you left her, it doesn't look like she has let you go." Meanwhile, we see Yejin sitting alone in her hotel room trying to call Lee Seok. But Lee Seok doesn't answer the call, and eventually it goes to voicemail. So Yejin softly says, "I need to talk to you." Right then, she suddenly receives a call from Mr. Park. He tells her, "This is actually my number. Lee Seok told me not to tell you." Then Park sends Lee Seok's real phone number to Yejin. The moment Yejin sees the number, she realizes that Lee Seok's number and her mom's old number are actually the same. Then she notices that there were countless late-night calls recorded on it. Curious, she starts listening to all the voice recordings one by one. And through those recordings, she basically relives every single moment from the beginning of their relationship until now. She even listens to the recording where she herself had once said, "I feel like he's hurting even more than I am." Then we hear Lee Seok's recorded voice saying, "I love you so much. I don't want you to get hurt because of me anymore. Because of me, one of my friends died, and so many people suffered because of my mistakes." Then he continues, "But after meeting you, after staying by your side, I finally started feeling happy again." He then tells her to take care of herself and finally says, "I really love you." After returning to the present timeline, we see Yejin completely breaking down into tears after hearing everything. At the same time, Lee Seok suddenly receives a call from Yejin. At first, he assumes she might be sleepwalking again, but Yejin tells him, "I'm sitting in the park right now." The moment Lee Seok hears this, he immediately runs toward her. As soon as he arrives, he anxiously asks, "Are you okay?" But Yejin replies, "I'm fully awake right now, and I know everything." Then she tells him that she listened to all of the recordings, including the last thing he said on the phone. After that, she emotionally says, "When I needed you the most, you didn't leave me. So how can I leave you now?" And hearing this, the two of them finally hug each other and reconcile again. The next day, we see Lee Seok sitting together with Mr. Moo. Then he waves at Yejin and casually asks whether she has eaten yet. Seeing this, Mr. Moo gets completely confused and asks, "Wait, when did all this happen?" But before they can talk further, we realize they are actually waiting for someone. Soon, Michelle arrives there along with Mr. Cha. They had come to renew their contract. However, Lee Seok directly refuses. Michelle then coldly warns him, saying, "If you don't work with us, then nobody else will work with you either." Then she says he still has enough time to think about it before leaving. Later, we see Yejin back at the office, where everyone already knows that she and Lee Seok have gotten back together. Then Lee Seok sends her a message saying that he's busy today. But instead of understanding, Yejin immediately gets annoyed and starts complaining that he doesn't even have time for her anymore. Then the scene shifts toward Lee Seok, where Mr. Moo suddenly suddenly starts acting strangely. Out of nowhere, he grabs the contract from the L'Etoile company and tears it apart, saying, "We don't need them anymore." Right at that moment, Han arrives there. The moment Mr. Mu sees him, he gets extremely happy because Han is actually their same old friend. Then Han reveals that he owns a cosmetics company operating in both Thailand and South Korea. He says, "The moment I heard that the L'Etoile company was trying to ruin all your contracts, how could I just sit quietly?" Then he proudly says that he isn't afraid of the L'Etoile company at all. Hearing this finally makes Lee Seok smile again. After that, we see Lee Seok going to meet Yi-jin. Yi-jin excitedly tells him, "Wait a minute, I'll quickly go change my clothes and come outside." But just then, Eric suddenly appears there. The moment Lee Seok sees him, he asks, "What are you doing here?" Eric casually replies, "I live right next door to her now. I'm basically her neighbor." After hearing this, we see Lee Seok becoming visibly uncomfortable. When he comes to his house, he keeps thinking that whenever Yi-jin needs help, Eric always appears beside her immediately. And because of that, Lee Seok keeps getting bothered and jealous, thinking about Eric again and again. Later, while the two are talking, Yi-jin says that ever since returning to Seoul, she hasn't been able to sleep properly. And then, late at night, we suddenly see Lee Seok arriving outside her house. He looks at her and says, "Let's sleep together tonight." Hearing this makes Ye-jin incredibly happy. After that, Ye-jin brings Lee Seok into her house. Surprised, she says, "You actually came." Lee Seok smiles and replies, "Well, you said you can't sleep without me." Hearing this instantly flusters Yi-jin, and she quickly denies ever saying that. Lee Seok then casually says, "All right, let's go to your room." But Yi-jin immediately stops him, saying she needs to clean it first before rushing inside in embarrassment. In the next scene, both of them are inside her room. Yi-jin focuses on her work while Lee Seok quietly lights a candle. He slowly walks toward her, holds her hand, and gently brings her onto the bed. As they stare at each other, Yi-jin nervously assumes he is about to do something romantic and covers her face in panic. But suddenly, soft music begins playing. Instead of making a move, Lee Seok starts playing a relaxing instrument to help her sleep. Confused, Yi-jin asks what he is doing. Lee Seok calmly replies that he thought the music might help her rest better. When she asks where he plans to sleep, he says he'll use the sofa after she falls asleep. Yi-jin insists he can sleep on the bed because it's more comfortable, but Lee Seok gently refuses, kisses her forehead, and tells her to sleep quickly. The scene then shifts to Michelle speaking with Mr. Cha about her brother Eric. She asks whether he plans to stay in Korea permanently, and Mr. Cha admits it really seems that way. Meanwhile, Eric goes out for a run and unexpectedly runs into Yi-jin. The two casually chat, and Yi-jin recommends several nearby restaurants, promising to send him. At the same time, Lee Seok is sleeping and dreaming about Ye-jin together with Eric. He suddenly wakes up and notices a note from Ye-jin saying she went out for a run and that he should eat the food inside the fridge. When Lee Seok opens it, he finds several dishes prepared for him. He tastes them one by one, but immediately comments that everything is far too salty. Later, he goes grocery shopping for vegetables where Ye-jin's father ends up helping him. While talking, Ye-jin's father asks why he is buying so much food when there was already food at home. Lee Seok honestly replies that the food was extremely salty. Both of them then head toward the building together. Ye-jin's father casually asks if Lee Seok is his neighbor since he has never seen him before. But the moment Lee Seok walks toward Ye-jin's apartment and begins unlocking the door, her father instantly realizes the situation. Awkwardly, Ye-jin's father admits, "Actually, my food really was salty." Hearing this leaves Lee Seok completely speechless. Right then, Ye-jin and Eric also arrive and witness the awkward scene. In the next scene, all four sit together inside the house. Ye-jin's father warmly thanks Eric because he already knows Eric once helped his daughter. However, he barely acknowledges Lee Seok at all. Poor Lee Seok keeps trying to help while cooking, but nobody pays much attention to him. Even during dinner, Ye-jin's father constantly serves food only to Eric. Seeing this, Eric and Lee Seok silently begin competing through food and end up overeating while Ye-jin desperately tries to stop them. Later, when Ye-jin and Lee Seok are finally alone, Ye-jin asks why he forced himself earlier despite not being able to handle salty food. Lee Seok honestly replies that he doesn't even know why he acted that way. Then he notices several food containers in her fridge and asks if her father brought all of them and why she never eats them. Ye-jin quietly says the problem was never really the food itself. The story then shifts toward Miss Song speaking with the director about the Good Morning Cream controversy. The director reveals that Ye-jin only discovered a week earlier that the broadcast would involve Miss Song, but she already knew Ye-jin would never skip it because it involved her mother. Then the director reveals something shocking. She says Miss Song used to secretly take leave from work to meet Yejin's father, and she had even once seen them together with their little daughter. At first, the director never realized Yejin was that same child, but later she discovered Yejin was actually Miss Song's daughter. On the other side, Yejin proudly shows Lee Seok all the products she promoted over the years. Shocked, Lee Seok asks if she really built everything by herself. Yejin proudly says that these products mean as much to her as Lee Seok's mushroom farm means to him. Hearing this makes Lee Seok emotional. He apologizes for not understanding earlier and admits she must have struggled greatly to build everything alone. Yejin says things were difficult in the beginning but later became easier. Then she reveals the real reason she worked so hard. She wanted to prove herself to her mother and show that she was capable too. After that, Yejin shows Lee Seok old childhood photos where Miss Song appears as well. She also reveals the mysterious phone number her mother once gave her, telling her to call every Sunday at 8 p.m. Yejin explains everything connected to that number before smiling and saying that the same number now belongs to him, which feels like a strange coincidence. Lee Seok quietly admits that whenever Yejin called him late at night, it felt like she missed her mother deeply. But Yejin quickly denies it, insisting it was only because of the medicine. The next morning, Miss Song secretly watches Yejin preparing for a company broadcast. Yejin notices her mother standing there but silently walks past without saying anything. Meanwhile, Lee Seok and Mr. Moo meet with Han after officially signing a contract with his company. After the photo shoots, they all go out for dinner together. While talking about the past, Boo-so eventually gets mentioned. Han explains that although Boo-so made terrible mistakes, he did one good thing by bringing Lee Seok into the company. We then finally see the past properly. During a recruitment event, multiple companies are interviewing students. The other students immediately recognize Lee Seok and praise him as an incredibly talented applicant who would surely join a major company. However, Lee Seok becomes interested in Boo-so's booth and asks whether the cream product is truly safe. Boo-so confidently assures him that he personally made it and that there is nothing dangerous about it. After hearing that, Lee Seok quietly leaves but surprisingly returns later to apply for the company anyway. Back in the present, a completely drunk Lee Seok returns home and suddenly hugs Yejin tightly, asking her to stay still for 1 minute. Worried, Yejin asks if someone upset him and even offers to annoy that person to death herself, but Lee Seok says nothing. As they sit together on the sofa, Yejin gets up to bring him something, but Lee Seok stops her and asks how long she plans to keep calling him Matthew Lee Seok instead of simply Lee Seok. Hearing this makes Yejin extremely happy. She then curiously asks how he got the name Lee Seok. At this point, the truth is finally revealed. After the cream incident ruined his life, Lee Seok isolated himself completely and stopped talking to anyone. But one person continued visiting him over and over again, Somi. She constantly tried comforting him, bringing small gifts and talking to him even when he barely responded. One day, Somi reveals her own secret. She says she has no friends because of the scars on her face. Then she removes her mask and shows him the marks. The moment Lee Seok sees them, he realizes those scars were caused by the cream incident connected to him. Somi then asks for his name, but Lee Seok stays silent. So she gives him a book with the name Matthew written on it and says, "From now on, I'll call you Uncle Matthew." Back in the present, Lee Seok tells Yejin that Somi comforted him more than anyone else ever had. He admits that without her, he doesn't know what would have happened to him. Because of that, he feels responsible for protecting her forever. Finally, we see Eric secretly meeting Mr. Cha without Michelle finding out. Mr. Cha reveals that Lee Seok rejected Michelle's company and instead signed with another cosmetics brand. Eric immediately says that his sister must be furious after hearing this. But surprisingly, Mr. Cha replies that Michelle is acting completely calm and quietly handling everything on her own. Later, Yejin is washing her face at home when Lee Seok quietly comes close and keeps staring at her. Noticing this, Yejin jokingly asks, "What? Am I pretty?" Lee Seok immediately nods yes. Then he suddenly asks if she's free tomorrow because he wants to go on a hotel vacation with her. Yejin happily agrees. Afterward, Yejin excitedly tells Sung about the trip, but Sung instantly overreacts and warns her to prepare all her dresses because this is basically war. She even hints that Lee Seok might try something romantic. Yejin quickly denies it, insisting Lee Seok would never do that. Meanwhile, at the company, Mr. Moo pretends to exercise seriously in front of Lee Seok, only to immediately start eating chocolates afterward, and even offer some to him. Surprisingly, Lee Seok joins him. Mr. Moo offers to help finish the work, but Lee Seok refuses because he wants to complete everything today since he'll be leaving on vacation with Yejin tomorrow. On the other hand, Yejin, who originally didn't care much about the trip, suddenly becomes extremely serious about it. She spends time trying different outfits at home, wondering what to wear because technically this is her first real date. She even goes shopping and buys a necklace specially for the occasion. Finally, both of them are ready for the trip. Yejin secretly hopes Lee Suk will notice her necklace, but at first he completely misses it. She becomes slightly disappointed until Lee Suk finally looks at her properly and compliments how pretty the necklace is. Hearing that instantly makes her happy again. When they arrive at the hotel, Yejin notices there are 4 rooms booked and becomes confused. But Lee Suk reveals the truth after looking behind her. The villagers have arrived too. He reminds Yejin that when she promoted the hotel earlier, he accidentally bought 4 room packages. Embarrassed, Yejin awkwardly admits she forgot about that. The villagers excitedly greet Yejin and ask if they can visit her company for a tour. Lee Seok immediately tries stopping them because today was supposed to be her vacation, but Yejin eventually gives in and agrees to attend the broadcast anyway. Later, everyone arrives at the company. Meanwhile, Somi asks her sister if she applied for the company job after receiving the application poster, but her sister denies it. At the same time, Najin accidentally drops some files and Hong helps her pick them up. Their hands touch and Hong recognizes her from the village. He introduces himself and wishes her luck before leaving. After he walks away, Najin quietly smiles to herself. Meanwhile, Yujin is preparing for a live broadcast when she realizes one of the models is missing. Panicking, she suddenly notices Mr. Park nearby and immediately turns him into the replacement model. During the live stream, Park dramatically poses while promoting the clothes, shocking everyone watching. Even Song is impressed and admits he looks surprisingly handsome. After the broadcast, Song praises Park for doing such a good job and gives him a gift. That's when Park reveals something shocking. He bought every single product Song had ever promoted. When Song asks why he spent so much money, Park shyly admits he only wanted an excuse to text her and see her smile. Hearing this makes Song flustered. Then she asks if he also bought the hotel package. And when Park says yes, she happily suggests they go together. On the other side, Moon is delivering coffee outside when Mr. Moo suddenly offers to help her. Even though she warns him his clothes will get dirty, he doesn't care and walks with her carrying the coffee. When they arrive at a house, an elderly woman asks for help taking her husband to the restroom. Mr. Moo immediately volunteers, and Moon quietly watches him with growing interest. Later, while Mr. Moo dries his clothes, Moon continues staring at him, clearly beginning to like him. Meanwhile, Yejin asks Lee Seok why he keeps following her around instead of spending time with the villagers. She asks if he's upset, but Lee Seok suddenly says something romantic. Our real date starts now. After that, he takes her out properly. The two enjoy delicious food, spend time together doing cute activities, visit a library to read books together, and eventually share a kiss. Later, while they're outside together, Lee Seok reveals that tomorrow he plans to leave with the villagers because he personally wants to take them back home. Yejin says Mr. Park could easily handle it instead, but Lee Seok insists on doing it himself. Then Yejin seriously tells him that he should start thinking about himself again. She mentions seeing old photos of him in the laboratory and says he looked genuinely happy there. Yejin encourages him to make cosmetics again and promises to support him no matter what happens. She even jokes that her shoulders are strong enough to carry any burden with him. At the same time, Michelle is sitting in her office looking through secret files when Mr. Cha suddenly rushes inside, yelling about an emergency. Michelle quickly hides the file just before Eric arrives. Eric secretly searches around for the hidden documents but fails to find them, though he becomes suspicious after noticing the drawer. Meanwhile, Michelle goes down to the parking area with Mr. Cha, who awkwardly admits he only called her because he accidentally ruined her sandwich while driving too fast. Furious, Michelle threatens him and warns that if he causes trouble like this again, she'll destroy him completely. After Michelle returns upstairs, Eric has already left. On the other side, Lee Suk returns to the village with everyone. There, Somi tells her sister she no longer wants to stay with her and instead wants to live with Lee Suk. So Lee Suk takes Somi home with him while Na-jin quietly watches. Later that night, Lee Seok remembers overhearing Somi and Na-jin arguing earlier. Somi had revealed that during their time in Seoul, she once wanted food, but her sister refused because they didn't have enough money. Feeling guilty, Lee Seok quietly carries the sleeping Somi to a store. There, Na-jin gives him money for their final rent payment and reveals she plans to take Somi back to Seoul for treatment at a bigger hospital. Lee Seok immediately offers to go with them, but Na-jin refuses. Then, Lee Seok says something shocking. He plans to eventually tell Somi the truth, that he is responsible for the incident connected to her face. But Na-jin stops him, refusing to let him say anything. That same night, Na-jin suddenly calls Lee Seok in panic because Somi has disappeared. Soon, the entire village begins searching for her after an announcement spreads everywhere. Lee Seok searches desperately until he suddenly realizes Somi may have gone to the same hiding place he once used himself. When he reaches the spot behind his old house, he finds Somi quietly sitting there alone. Lee Seok gently asks if she's okay, and Somi finally reveals that she already knew the truth about him all along. Lee Seok apologizes again, but Somi heartbreakingly tells him he has apologized enough already. She reminds him of all the kindness he showed her, taking her on trips, buying her food and clothes, and always caring for her. Then she reveals the real reason she ran away. After overhearing his conversation with Na-jin, she became terrified that he was going to leave her too. Somi emotionally says her parents already abandoned them once, and she doesn't want Lee Seok to disappear from her life as well. She begs him to stay beside her forever. Completely overwhelmed, Lee Seok hugs her tightly and promises he will never leave and will always protect her. Meanwhile, Na-jin is desperately worried until Lee Seok finally returns with Somi. Somi hugs her sister while crying and says she no longer wants to move to Seoul because she wants to stay here instead. Na-jin finally agrees, deciding they'll remain together in the village. Elsewhere, Eric secretly examines the file he stole earlier. We finally learn that he successfully opened Michelle's drawer and discovered her plans to enter the Asian market. However, Mr. Cha reveals they still don't even have proper raw materials, making Michelle's determination seem suspicious. Meanwhile, Lee Seok takes Yijin to his old laboratory and shows her how everything used to work there. Then he finally makes an important decision. Because of the promise he made to Somi, he's going to start creating cosmetic products again. And this time, no matter what happens, he vows to create the perfect cream. But then we see a shocking twist. Michelle secretly meets Han and reminds him that he once promised to help her. Han smiles before revealing his true intention. I'm going to destroy Lee Seok. With that, the episode ends here.